Chapter 241. A small application of the bloodline imprint. Impossible? Will couldn't help exclaiming. Compared with second-class apprentices, third-class apprentices will have a qualitative improvement in strength. After becoming a third-class apprentice, it is normal for his physical fitness to double. How did you come to him, and your physical fitness improved by 20 to 30%? Even slightly better eyesight? Is this level of strengthening considered to be a third-class apprentice? He is still looking forward to the blood talent. Mentor, please help me. Will looked at Valtteri with longing eyes. Now that she has spoken out about the problem, there must be a solution. The bloodline can only be strengthened through external methods. No one from Valtteri's mentor disappointed Will. Ah? Is there still such a practice? When merging the demon species, the blood of the same origin as the demon species can be injected into the body through a special method, which can increase the blood concentration. Instructor Valtteri said it easily. But Will knew that it would never be that simple. What is the special method? It's just a trick to use the blood imprint. Hiss. Will suddenly took a breath. The bloodline mark is a special mark carved on the body of the monster's bloodline after being purified by a special method. Through the bloodline imprint, the bloodline ability of the corresponding monster can be used. It is equivalent to having an extra blood talent. However, it is said that the method of making the bloodline imprint has been lost. How could teacher Valtteri know it? The same bloodline? Will didn't plan to delve into the matter of the bloodline imprint. I didn't dare to delve into it. As long as it can help him to be promoted to the third-class apprentice safely, he won't bother about the bloodline imprint. Your eyes are made from the blood of the Comoros monitor lizard, said Instructor Valtteri. Isn't there a Comoros monitor lizard in the academy? Will asked in surprise. 7 months ago, the Comoros monitor lizard died. How much blood is needed? The amount needed is very large, and it must be fresh blood. Therefore, it is best to catch a Comoros monitor lizard and get blood at any time. The Comoros monitor lizard is a powerful monster that mainly lives in the Bears Mountains. Rumored to be a descendant of a giant dragon, the Comoros monitor lizard has an extremely powerful physique, and its combat power is comparable to that of a third-class apprentice. Let him kill a Comoros dragon, no problem. His current strength, to say the least, is at the peak of a third-class apprentice. The Comoros monitor lizard is nothing but a ferocious beast with low combat power and low IQ. It should not be too easy to kill. Want to be caught alive? Really can't do it. I have a suggestion for you. The Comoros monitor lizard capture mission issued by the Academy has already been accepted. You can discuss it with him. Instructor Valtteri smiled. Really? Will's eyes lit up. The Academy needs Comorian monitor lizard blood for research. The Comoros monitor lizard is dead, and another one must be caught. It is a normal process to issue tasks with huge rewards. And in the Academy, he knew the people who would take on this task. The person who takes this task must be a third-class apprentice. Without the strength of a third-class apprentice, it is impossible to defeat the Comoros monitor lizard, let alone capture it alive. You must also be an adventurer with extensive adventure experience. There will be special skills in catching monsters. And interested in this task. There are only a few third-class apprentices in the college. There is only one person in the academy who can meet the above conditions, at least in his cognition. After the Comoros monitor lizard is captured, when can I start to advance to the third-class apprentice? Immediately. How long will it take? 3 months. Is there a chance to awaken the blood talent? Not much chance. After a question and an answer, after a few questions, he almost knew everything he wanted to know. It's time to say goodbye. Mr. Valtteri, thank you for your help. Will bowed sincerely. Although he paid the price of the core of a giant tree, he felt that the price was completely acceptable. The core of the giant tree can be exchanged for thousands of magic stones. But can the magic stone help him increase the fusion rate and blood concentration? This kind of technology is probably only available to official wizards and those big families with deep background, which is beyond his current level. If there is no mentor Valtteri. After his advanced third-class apprentice, the improvement in strength will be outrageously low. Maybe it will also affect the future advanced official wizards. And the price that needs to be paid is just the core of a giant tree. In his opinion, it is already very worthwhile. Do you still have any questions? Could it be that teacher Valtteri felt that he had earned too much from the core of a giant tree? Will didn't know much about the imprint of blood and the core of the giant tree, so he couldn't measure their value. Since the instructor thinks so, it should be correct. But what does the teacher really mean? Instead of asking casually, Will carefully observed the mentor's expression, hoping to see some clues. Unfortunately not. Finally, he gritted his teeth and summoned up the courage to say, Teacher, I am very interested in the legendary seal. I'll apply for a 1-month license to learn the seals, 5 seals, and you can choose to comprehend them at will. Thank you, tutor. Thanks again and again. Will didn't quit until the mentor showed an impatient look. Immediately after leaving the room, take a long breath. The harvest is greater than expected. Before, he just held the idea of just in case, holding the core of the giant tree to meet the mentor, but he didn't expect to find the problem. Fortunately, I didn't covet those thousands of high-level magic stones. And, Phaon? Thinking of the fearless attitude of teacher Verdelli when talking about Phaon. Phaon, the most powerful force in the apprenticeship stage, but in the eyes of official wizards, is it nothing? That's right, the seal itself is a simplified version of witchcraft, and it's normal for official wizards to look down on it. Witchcraft, that is a powerful technique that only formal wizards can learn. The sign of magic is a simplified version of the weakened sorcery that apprentices can learn after special changes to sorcery. But even if the simplified version is weakened, it is too difficult for apprentices to learn. Not only is it difficult to learn, but it is also very expensive. For one enlightenment, 20 high-level magic stones are needed. 20 high-level magic stones, only enlightened once. Those with low talent will not be able to learn it no matter how many times they study and how many magic stones they pay. For those with high talents, it is rumored that in the history of the Academy, the fastest to learn the Dharma seal has also comprehended 17 times. Converted into magic stones, there are 340 high-level magic stones. This is the best talent, the fastest to learn, and only learned 1 seal. What if the talent is slightly worse? What if the 5 seals are all learned? What if the magic stone is not enough? 1 month? It seems that I can't realize it many times. Comprehending skills, especially skills at the level of Phaon, is very exhausting. Generally speaking, it takes 2 or 3 days to rest for one enlightenment. If the frequency of comprehension is too fast, it will damage your body instead. So in a month, you can comprehend it up to 15 times, which is equivalent to 300 high-level magic stones. Under normal circumstances, if you practice 15 times, you don't even want to learn a single seal. But to me, it doesn't matter. Chapter 242. To him. Breathing method, body training method, meditation method, night martial arts, spiritual skills, magic skills, no matter what kind of skills and skills, how difficult it is to learn. Is there a difference? As long as you can get started. I'm afraid that some skills and skills can't even be done at the beginning. In a month's time, it shouldn't be difficult to get started with the 5 seals. The difficulty of learning Phaon is unprecedentedly difficult. It is one of the most difficult skills to learn during the wizard's apprenticeship. It should be fine, right? Although he was a little apprehensive, as long as he thought of the scene where he learned the alder seal, he suddenly became confident. He turned his head and took a deep look at the bronze gate. Inside the door, there is an official wizard. Wizard Verdelli is one of the only 3 official wizards in the Jalo School of Potions. Mentor Verdelli gave him great help and is one of the people he is most grateful for. But, sure enough, the feeling of not having power is really uncomfortable. All the deals he has made with Valtteri's mentor so far are based on the premise that Valtteri is willing to trade fairly and not covet his things. If the other party is a little malicious, there is nothing he can do. I can only bear it obediently. Do you have 1 month's permission to learn the seal? She should know how difficult it is to learn the seal, right? At least 2 months? 20 free chances to enlighten are also okay? Why is it only 1 month? He really wants everyone to be kind, sincere, and loving. Unfortunately, it is impossible. Every time I stand in front of a powerful existence that surpasses me and can kill me in seconds, I can't help being afraid and afraid. This is the self-preservation instinct of life. If possible, he didn't want to have too much contact with official wizards. But he had to rely on mentor Valtteri. It's really contradictory feelings. After saying goodbye to teacher Verdelli, Will finds Monty. When they met, they made an appointment to have a big meal. I won't save you money, be prepared to be slaughtered by me. Will immediately smiled when he saw Monty. Eat as much as you want, I still have the money to fill your stomach. Monty also said with a smile. The two bought good wine and food, and ate and drank in Monty's room. The room assigned after becoming a mentor is much larger than the room in the apprentice dormitory area. Rather than talking about a room, it is better to say it is a small courtyard. There are kitchens, halls, guest rooms, medicine refining rooms, training rooms, storage rooms. There are hundreds of square meters and 3 floors. While drinking, the two talked about what they had seen and heard in the past 3 years. Monty talked about how he became a third-class apprentice in 3 years, what tasks he did, what rewards he had, and how to use the magic stones he got more effectively. He said this to teach Will the experience of becoming a third-class apprentice. After that, he talked about the changes in the academy in the past 3 years. What happened? Those students with excellent talents were admitted, and those who were given high hopes failed to advance to third-class apprentices. Also talks about Joran and Judy. Joran and Judy are Monty's best friends, and Will can only be ranked third. Joran died while doing the quest Delicious in Guana Falls. For Joran's death, Monty felt very sad, and repeatedly apologized to Will, saying that Joran killed him. But he didn't say a word about Thuras who really killed Joran and drove Will to a desperate situation. 3 years ago, Saurus hit the realm of an official wizard. I don't know what happened. Has he become an official wizard? Will wanted to know, but he didn't know who to ask. He, a person who has a grudge with Saurus, took the initiative to explore Saurus's intelligence, and it would be bad to be hated by others. He just wants to be low-key and low-key. Don't attract Saurus' attention until you have the strength to revenge. After talking about Joran, we talked about Judy. Judy, a cheerful and beautiful girl. When the end of life is approaching, after knowing that there is no hope of advancing to the third-class apprentice, he chooses to leave the academy and go home to spend the last time with his family. In the more than 10 years in the academy, Monty has seen too many partings. The apprentices of the same class as him, except for a few bloodlines, died or left. I didn't expect that I, with mediocre talent, would be the only one among us who advanced to the third-class apprenticeship. Monty grinned, his smile was so sad and desolate. Will also selectively told Monty about his life in Kava City for 3 years. In flickering candlelight, the two drank a glass of wine, talking, laughing, and crying. I don't know how long it has been. The bought wine was finished, and both of them were drunk. Will declined Monty's persuasion, and walked towards the dormitory area with unsteady steps. After some distance from Monty's room, Will's shaking body gradually stood upright, and his cloudy eyes regained clarity. I'm still too young. He has a lot more control over his body now than he did 2 years ago. He doesn't need to get alcohol out of his body, he can directly control the alcohol from entering the blood, so he won't get drunk. Even if alcohol enters the blood, only the body is limp, but the brain is still awake. He shouldn't have been drunk. But he was really drunk. Although not drunk. As long as you take the initiative to let alcohol blend into your blood, control your mind, make your consciousness confused, and want to get drunk, it's still very simple. He didn't want to get drunk, even if he drank a large tank of alcohol. If he wants to get drunk, he can get drunk by drinking plain water. There is no sword in your hand, but you have a sword in your heart. This is probably what he said. I shouldn't have done this. Being drunk will make one's state decline and become confused. This is a wrong option. No matter how safe the place is, no matter what mood you are in, you must maintain a 100% state of mind to deal with emergencies. But he did relax tonight. He was infected by Monty's emotions and became lost, sad, and melancholy. My heart has become weak. Will clutched his chest, maybe my will is not as strong as I imagined? People always overestimate themselves. In particular, it is easy to overestimate your own willpower. For example, I will study hard tomorrow. I have made a good study plan, and I have written all the arrangements for the next month. Get up at 5:30 tomorrow to recite words. 10 pull-ups a day. There may be very few who say it, but there are definitely many who swear in their hearts. However, if it is short, it may be forgotten tomorrow, and if it is long, it is rare to persist for a week. I thought that my will was as solid as a rock, and the mountain collapsed in front of me without changing my color, but it turns out that I am still too young. It was just a drink with an old friend whom he hadn't seen for 3 years, and reminiscing about the past, his spirit was shaken so badly. happiness, resentment, depression, sadness. The so-called emotions should be like ocean waves. No matter how rough the surface is, they will not affect the seabed thousands of meters or tens of thousands of meters below. And my heart lies in the deepest part of the ocean. My will should be like ocean currents, heavy, grand, and unchangeable. But tonight, his emotions actually affected his will and his actions. This was a huge hidden danger. This is a huge flaw in his mind. It's time to learn a few spiritual skills that can stabilize your emotions and cultivate your state of mind. Chapter 243. He thought so, and he wanted to act this way. But he still maintained a half-drunk state and staggered towards the dormitory area. It perfectly interprets the fragility of the soul. Find something to go back, have a good night's rest, adjust your mentality, and talk to someone about the Comoros dragon tomorrow. Hunting the Comoros monitor lizard was a major task for him to advance to become a third-class apprentice. It is difficult for him to do it alone, he must cooperate with others. And this hope, to be honest, is very slim. If I take a well-paid and dangerous task, and I have made sufficient preparations and plans, suddenly a first-class apprentice pops up and tells me that he wants to take risks with me, and tells me all kinds of things about him. I will probably refuse. Everyone has their own habits, preparation, and team. Even if you are very useful, sometimes you just don't want to. There are main factors, but there are also objective factors. Like Will, it would be fine if he stayed behind and could be an assistant at ease. When he was the main adventurer, he still liked to be alone. Because there are too many secrets about him, people who are not absolutely trusted should never tell them. I can only do my best. In fact, since he has already accepted the task, he doesn't need to participate, it's okay to wait for the other party to complete the task. But for such an important matter, it is more reassuring to participate in it yourself. There is to earn magic stones. To take the blood of the Comoros monitor lizard, one needs to pay magic stones. The Academy issued a mission and gave you a generous reward. Once the things come back, they belong to the Academy. Do you want to use them? Please pay. I have quite a lot of magic stones. It should be enough to become a third-class apprentice. The problem is after becoming a third-class apprentice. In the wizarding world, there are too many places where magic stones are used. Even if you give him thousands of high-level magic stones, it's not enough. No one will despise more money. At least Will isn't the type to say I don't care about money. Hopefully it works. If not, then he can only catch the Comoros monitor lizard by himself. Stand at the door of C06. Take out the key. Click. Opening the door, a faint ray of light came out from the crack of the door, turning into a straight spot of light and falling on his body. Hey? With doubts in my heart, I pushed open the door completely. Before he returned to the dormitory, he imagined the room was dark, damp, and dusty. After all, he hasn't come back for 3 years. No one was hired to clean the room either. And what he saw when he opened the door was a clean and simple room. The room is occupied? Did the college give the house to someone else? There are many empty houses in the accommodation area. He has only been out for a few years, and there is no definite news of his death, so it shouldn't be possible to give up his room, right? Where are my things? Although he doesn't have much valuable things at all. In the room, there was the sound of da-da-da footsteps. A few seconds later, a girl with short hair in a loose wizard apprentice robe, black-rimmed glasses, and short hair appeared in front of Will. The girl stared at Will in surprise. Sarah? Unexpectedly, Sarah lived in his room. Not seeing each other for 3 years, Sarah's height and shape have not changed. Still looks like a little girl. I used to think she was falsely reporting her age, so she is really an adult? Sarah, who looks much younger than him, is not really young, but a few years older than him. I always thought Sarah was joking. He also joked to Sarah, I didn't expect that you, who have always been rigid and inflexible, would make jokes. Will studied Sarah carefully. Sarah's eyes were fixed on Will through the frame, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. You? From the moment they met, Will noticed the strangeness of Sarah's body. Sarah's skin was morbidly pale, her face looked so gloomy under the black-rimmed glasses, and there was an ominous aura exuding from her body. Just staying by her side made her whole body feel uncomfortable. Those with slightly weaker mental strength will cry in fright when they get close. It's almost like releasing spiritual skills to dispel life. And looking at Sarah's appearance, the evil spirit wrapped around her waist was emitted unintentionally, and it was still continuous. A life with a smaller range to dispel? It is impossible for Sarah's spiritual cultivation to continuously release such evil spirits. So it's the bloodline ability? She knows Sarah's bloodline ability. Could it be that she has improved so much after 3 years of absence? Have you reached the 3rd class apprenticeship? Wrong. Will noticed a strange magic in Sarah. An impossible guess arose in his mind. You transplanted the demon seed? The bloodlines actually transplanted the demon seed? Impossible. But Sarah defied his common sense. Sarah lifted up her robe, revealing her slender white waist. On the left side of her waist, there was a piece of white flesh wriggling, like a huge worm constantly burrowing into her body. It looked so nauseous. Transplanting demon seeds is a way for mortals to gain the power to fight monsters. Bloodlines are different. People with bloodlines are born with powerful strength and magic power, and they are born wizard apprentices. They don't need to transplant demon seeds at all, and they can't transplant demon seeds. The demon seed will erode the body, and the body will resist the demon seed. Ordinary people are fine, because the strength of the body is not at the same level as that of the monster, so they cannot resist the erosion of the monster, and can only rely on the help of the black stock solution. And the bloodlines have the ability to resist the erosion of demon seeds. One's own blood will conflict with the demon species, causing the body to collapse and die. Although I heard that there are wizards who have been researching on transplanting demon seeds to people with bloodlines, I didn't expect you to have transplanted them. Will said with emotion. People with bloodlines transplanted the demon seeds, the body can resist the erosion of the demon seeds, there is no need to drink the black stock solution, and the lifespan will not be shortened. Compared with ordinary humans, they are theoretically perfect transplants. At the same time, it can also make the bloodline person have stronger magic power, stronger physical fitness, and maybe an extra bloodline ability. It's a pity that after thousands of years of research, the effect is still not ideal. Many transplants not only failed to improve their strength, their physical fitness and combat effectiveness also declined in the confrontation between their own blood and demon seeds. Why do you do that? Will asked. I want to become stronger, live freely, and catch up with you. Sarah whispered. You, just do what you want to do. Everyone has their own life, their own choices. Some choices may be naive, wrong, or wrong in the eyes of others. But as long as it's not evil, it's fine. And Will is also very interested in the demon seed. He also wants to study the magic species. Creating a breathing method that everyone can practice and greatly increasing the number of nights on the human side is just the first step. If you want everyone to have blood, and everyone can become a wizard apprentice, you still need to work hard on the demon seed. If one day, transplanting demon seeds is like performing an appendicitis operation, the process is simple, the risk is low, and the lifespan will not be shortened, that would be great. Looking forward to that day. I just don't know if he will be able to see that scene in his lifetime. Chapter 244. Will stepped forward and hugged Sarah gently. I will support you, I will help you, and I will protect you. Since Sarah trusted him, believed in him, maybe still loved him? It is also appropriate to help out when you have the spare capacity. And he also intends to study demon seeds, maybe Sarah is an opportunity? Go to the bathroom and wash off the smell of alcohol. Am I disgusting? Sarah touched the wriggling flesh in her abdomen uneasily, and said uneasily. Unexpectedly, Sarah, who has always been expressionless and a girl without 3, would show such a pitiful expression. Time is the biggest killer of time, it can change everything. In the past 3 years, you have suffered a lot. Not everyone can make the decision to transplant a demon seed, or be a bloodline person. Strive for your life in a desperate situation. It is completely different from the determination that needs to be made to actively step into hell in a stable state. Walking on an unknown road, unable to predict the future direction, no one can talk, and bear the strange eyes of others. If you can persevere, and your spirit doesn't break down, it's pretty good. No wonder he couldn't wait to seek comfort from him as soon as he came back. Woke up the next day. He got up and set off. In the room, sitting opposite him was a calm and handsome middle-aged man. This is Luoji, the 3rd-class apprentice who took over the task of hunting the Komaro's monitor lizard. Luoji, a 3rd-class apprentice, a college tutor, and a senior hunter. He is powerful, ranking 2nd among all the apprentices in the academy, second only to the monster like Bloom. The strength should be at the 3rd level of a 3rd class apprentice, maybe at the 4th level. Rich in combat experience, proficient in multiple magic skills, the magic species is Lehobeo and has awakened the talent of thunder and lightning. If Will doesn't turn on the acceleration mode, the chances of winning against Roger are not great. And he's on good terms with Roger, too. I understand the purpose of your looking for me. After hearing Will's explanation, Luoji nodded and said, this task is quite troublesome. I was just looking for 1 or 2 people to do it together, but, you are still a 2nd class apprentice, right? Are you strong enough? There was neither sarcasm nor arrogance in Roger's tone, just telling the truth. Although I am only a 2nd class apprentice peak, and the demon seed is also an auxiliary type, but I practice breathing techniques, and I am a great knight. My strength is comparable to some 3rd class apprentices who have awakened blood talent. Really? Luoji's face remained unchanged. How strong is it? You will know it in actual combat. They came to the training tower. The two stood 20 meters apart in an empty room. Here you can fight as much as you want. Come on, show me your strength. You don't need to hide. It doesn't matter if you show your killing intent, Luoji said. Good. Will didn't talk nonsense, picked up the newly bought big sword and rushed towards Roger. At first, Will didn't use night martial arts. Roger stood still, the sword in his hand easily blocked all of Will's attacks. His swordsmanship is worse than mine, and he should have practiced perception, but his proficiency is lower than mine. He can easily block all my attacks because of his rich combat experience and physical fitness beyond mine. However, after a few rounds of fighting, he already had a general understanding of Luoji's strength. Night martial arts launched. There was no white light of life coming out of Will's body, but he did use his vitality to fight. His attack suddenly became fierce. The speed and strength have been greatly improved, and it can be clearly seen that Luoji is struggling to block his attack. Still not using the bloodline ability? Magic skills are useless? However, even though he used night martial arts and raised his strength to the 2nd level of a 3rd class apprentice, he still failed to make Luoji serious. Knowing how to go down, Will won't get Roger's approval, stopped attacking, and distanced himself from Roger all of a sudden. At this point, are you still unwilling to use bloodline abilities and magic skills? It's not that I don't want to, it's just that I don't need it. How much of your current strength is your full strength? 10%. That's it, it seems that you can't do it unless you show your true skills. Will got a little serious. Roger is stronger than he imagined. But Luoji's strength is also deserved. After all, Luoji is the number 2 among the 3rd class apprentices in the academy. Among the many opponents he has encountered over the years, except for king-level monsters, Luoji is the strongest. Even if it was Corinne, he didn't think he was Roger's match. In terms of hard power, Kailani should be higher than Luoji, but unfortunately the temperament of the two is too different. Negative emotions such as pride, arrogance, anger, etc., seem to not exist for Roger. Since he knew Luoji, he has not seen any change in the expression on Luoji's face. The eyes are always so clear. I don't know if Luoji can maintain this calmness at the critical moment of life and death. Will appreciates Luoji's character, but he doesn't admire him, and he doesn't want to be such a person. Emotions, anger, sorrow, and joy are not unnecessary, as long as they don't affect the correct judgment. He doesn't want to be a person without feelings. I don't want to be a person who abandons feelings for a certain purpose, no matter how great and just that purpose is. If I have to make some kind of sacrifice for justice, I will struggle with pain and anger, and bury this regret deeply in my heart, and try my best to avoid encountering such things in the future. Instead of asking others to make sacrifices for justice. If a sacrifice must be made to achieve justice, I hope it is I. Will stood watching Roger from a distance, took a deep breath, and gathered his strength. I might not be able to control my strength later, so be careful. Will reminded. It doesn't matter. Will took a deep breath, and his body began to expand. After a few breaths, Will turned into a 2-meter-2 giant. The muscles all over his body were knotted, and a large piece of muscle swelled to the limit like a balloon, as if his whole body would explode instantly if he stabbed it lightly with a needle. The skin was as red as blood, exuding steaming heat. Blood vessels crawl on the surface of the skin like earthworms. With a long exhalation, a white air wave exhaled from the nostrils, kicking up the dust on the ground. There are sharp pains all over the body, inside and out. It's been a long time since I used the burst mode. Will's face was contorted in pain. Burst mode is a mode with great flaws, and its combat power is not as good as the acceleration mode. Burst mode has been pretty much useless since acceleration mode. With the shining mode, the burst mode has been completely swept into the trash. The burst mode consumes more than the flash mode, the combat power is weaker than the flash mode, and the load is higher than the flash mode. Since there is a flash mode, why use it? The only use is probably like now, to cover up strength. Chapter 245. After using the burst mode, his size skyrocketed, as did his strength, speed, and defense. Although a single item is not as good as after using night martial arts in the normal state, the overall ability is definitely below the normal state. Wow! Will growled under his breath. The feet stepped on the ground quickly, and the figure suddenly accelerated, with great momentum, as if a heavy truck with a load of 100 tons was galloping at a speed of 500 hours per hour. Boom boom boom! The whole ground was shaking. Haha! His bulk loomed over Roger in his shadow. Holding the épée in both hands, he swung it swish like a heavy hammer, making bursts of empty explosions. What he is using now is simply the hammer method. Use hammer with sword. The big sword hit Luoji with an unstoppable momentum, vowing to smash him into meat paste. While roaring, Will slammed down with a sword. The muscles of the whole body swelled again, and the height reached an astonishing 205. Blood vessels swelled and spread all over his body like sausages. His heart was beating thump-thump, and his heartbeat could be clearly heard from a long distance away, like the violent engine of a car. Under his violent attack, Luoji gradually couldn't hold on anymore. Loki kept backing away, the pained expression on his face flashing away. It turns out that your complexion can also change. Since Luoji said that he should attack with all his strength and attack with killing intent, he would naturally do so. Because he believed in himself and Roger. After using the burst mode, his strength has greatly improved compared to the normal state, but he is only on the edge of the third-class apprentice, and it is impossible to threaten Luoji's life. You must know that Luoji has not used the blood talent and magic seed until now. Moreover, Luoji's demon is Leihobeo, who is good at speed, but he has been standing passively and being beaten, waiting for him to attack. Just work harder. Seeing that Luoji didn't intend to use his blood talent and magic skills even though he was forcing him to keep retreating, Will knew that the current attack alone would not work. Sudden. Will's fierce and violent offensive turned into light and feminine. It looks like a muscular man holding an embroidery needle with a shy expression and saying, "Oh, what a nuisance, it is so awkward and disgusting." However, in exchange for this awkwardness and disgust, the threat to the enemy has greatly increased. Almost instantly transforming styles. Hiss. Luoji's clothes were torn a hole. If he continued to preserve his strength, the next hole might appear on his neck. Roger's body accelerated suddenly, a bit faster than Will. He finally stopped resisting Will's attack, but chose to use his own speed advantage. However, his speed advantage was soon broken. It's useless, no matter how fast you move, is it faster than my attack speed? The general attack speed is several times or even dozens of times the movement speed. And Luoji's speed was not so fast that he couldn't react. Luoji wanted to win by speed, so he could only flee in a hurry under his attack, delaying time and waiting for his burst mode to end. Apparently Roger's pride wouldn't allow him to. He was going to beat Will head on. So there were more and more holes in his clothes, and he was gradually forced into the corner of the room by Will, where he couldn't show his speed. If this continues, Roger will lose. At this critical juncture, a flash of thunder suddenly appeared. Luoji's sword was covered with a dazzling and dangerous light. At the same time, Luoji also used lightning to stimulate the muscles and blood vessels of the body, which greatly increased the speed and strength. Swinging a sword wrapped in lightning, Loki pins Will down. "Have you finally used your bloodline ability?" His body was numb from the lightning, but his heart was full of ecstasy. This proved that Luoji recognized his strength, and he was one step closer to his goal. But it won't work like this. He didn't want Luoji to show a little bit of his true strength, and he would lose. At least let him suffer a little bit. But his strength and speed are suppressed by Luoji. Luoji still has thunder and lightning talent. How to fight? Rely on martial arts. Night martial arts cannot be used in burst mode, but ordinary martial arts are still no problem. He has all kinds of martial arts in one. Whether it is weapons or bare hands, he can be called a master-level existence. In this world, there is no one who can stand shoulder to shoulder with him in martial arts. This is not arrogance. Be confident. His fighting style began to change, sometimes violent, sometimes feminine, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. There is softness in rigidity, and rigidity in softness. Sword skills, hammer skills, spear skills, countless martial arts emerged from his hands. Fingering, footwork, headwork, not only the weapon in the hand, but every part of the body has turned into a deadly blade. Will's attack looked like a mad dog, but it was chaotic and orderly. Countless or weird or orthodox attacks, Will has them at his fingertips. Luoji was suppressed by him again. Just hitting, Will was surprised to find that he seemed to be suppressing Roger, but he was actually at a disadvantage. Under his storm-like offensive, Luoji was not injured at all. His attack couldn't even touch the hem of Roger's clothes. Impossible? His speed and strength haven't improved, and his skills haven't changed much. Why do my attacks? Will's mind flashed, yes, I forgot so much. A really good wizard apprentice would do it, and so would he. A mental skill called thinking acceleration. After careful observation, he found that Luoji was indeed using accelerated thinking. He is very familiar with the acceleration of thinking, and he will never be wrong. It's just that Roger's method is different from his. When he uses the acceleration of thinking, it is always on, from the beginning of the battle to the end of the battle. But Roger was different. He just opened it for a moment. When encountering danger, facing an invisible attack, or when the brain is unable to react, open it for a moment. 1 second turned into seconds. In battle, what does it mean that the thinking time has doubled? It means that every move and every movement has been carefully considered, and there are very few mistakes. If you want to defeat an opponent with the ability to speed up thinking, it is difficult to achieve results by relying on unexpected attacks. Can only rely on absolute strength. Of course, the theory goes like this. In fact, the consumption of thinking acceleration is too great. Even with the peak mental power of a third-class apprentice, it won't last long. It's impossible to leave it on all the time during combat. So there are always times when I can't open it, or when my mental power is exhausted. Luoji's mental strength should have reached the peak of a third-class apprentice, and he can't keep accelerating his thinking. This is the limit of apprenticeship. Chapter 246. If you want to achieve permanent thinking acceleration, I don't know if an official wizard can do it. Which is better, the permanent acceleration of thinking or the opening when necessary? For the improvement of combat effectiveness, it is natural to stay the most, and this is the method he has always used. The problem is that the permanent consumption is too high. Using it like Roger is the way to go. Learn something new. Will was also a little puzzled, why didn't I think of this usage before? Almost as soon as the question was asked in my mind, the answer came out. It's not necessary because it's not necessary. In his past battles, the opponents he could deal with under normal conditions did not need to use thinking acceleration at all. When encountering a strong enemy, when using the burst mode, the whole body will be accompanied by severe pain, resulting in a rapid decline in judgment and thinking ability. In the burst mode, either the mind acceleration is turned on all the time, or it is not turned on. Want to turn on in a pinch? Under the severe pain, he didn't have such a calm mind. Once you fail to open it in time, or the timing of opening it is wrong, you will step into a place of eternal doom. As for the time to learn the acceleration mode later. Acceleration mode only takes 10 seconds. Don't turn on the speed of thinking for 10 seconds. As for the flashing mode, he only used it once in a formal battle, and still crushed the opponent with absolute strength, and he didn't need to accelerate his thinking at all. Everyone has their own situation. Some things that are good for others may not be suitable for you, or even harmful. Although it is not of much use to him now, it is always good to learn new things. It will come in handy someday. The unexpected attack is resolved by the acceleration of thinking, and the hard power of the frontal attack is not as good as the opponent, so is there only failure? Roger is really strong. It is impossible to win without using the flash mode, without turning on the acceleration mode, and without using all the whole cards. But they're not in a duel to the death. It's just a competition. If you can beat him, just beat him. Try to delay as long as possible, and let him see my endurance is also good. Endurance is also part of strength. It is best to delay until the time limit of the burst mode arrives. It's a pity that Roger won't let Will get what he wants. The thunder on Luoji's sword actually spread to Will's sword, wrapped around his arm. Will's hands holding the sword were numb and still exuded a burnt aroma. Looking at the thunder wrapped around his arm, his expression was extremely ugly. Magic skills? He still knows a lot about magic skills. And the magic skill that Luoji is using now is the most common one among the general magic skills: magic entanglement. Magical winding, attaching magic power to weapons or limbs to enhance attack and defense. A very common and practical skill. When the proficiency of the magic skill is enough, it can also change its nature. For example, attach the bloodline ability to the enemy to continuously damage the enemy. It is a magical technique that is easy to learn but difficult to master, with a high upper limit and a lower limit. I surrender. After saying the words of admitting defeat, Will quickly distanced himself from Roger. Now that we have reached this point, there is no point in continuing to fight. How was the test? After extinguishing the lightning on his body, releasing the burst mode, and returning to his normal shape, Will stared at Roger, waiting for Roger's answer. In terms of strength, it passed. Roger recognized Will's strength. Although Will's strength is far inferior to his. But he is the best among the third-class apprentices, and it is only natural that he is not as good as him. And Will's strength is not weak anymore. Among all the apprentices in the academy, he can be ranked in the top 5. The breathing method also has many wonderful features. Luoji exclaimed. It is indeed extraordinary to let a second-class apprentice, who is still an auxiliary type of demon, increase his combat power to the level of a third-class apprentice. But what really amazed him was Will's combat experience and skills. Then I can go hunting the Komaro's monitor lizard with you? Will said pleasantly. Your strength has passed, and I also recognize the adventure experience. After all, you are a man who survived the king-level monster. Next, you only need to consider the task assignment and some details. Luoji said. The two left the training tower. Roger changed the tattered clothes. Will took a shower, drank some potions, and healed the injuries of his hands to a minimum. The two sat at the round table in the room. To capture the Komaro's monitor lizard, strong strength is only the foundation, but you have to know how difficult it is to transport the Komaro's monitor lizard alive to the academy. Yes. Will nodded approvingly. The Komorian monitor lizard is a powerful monster with the blood of a dragon. It is not difficult to defeat or kill with his and Luoji's strength. But it is not so easy to transport it back. If you want to catch the Komaro's monitor lizard, you need a cage, and the Komaro's monitor lizard has a huge body of 3 meters high and 20 meters long, and it has unimaginably powerful strength. Ordinary cages can't hold it at all. Do you need a special cage? I have already contacted my contact person to do the matter of the cage, and it will be completed in about half a year. So it will take half a year before we can leave? Yes. It takes half a year to get the cage, and it may take half a year to find the catch. So it took a year to start hitting the realm of the third-class apprentice? Will wanted to become a third-class apprentice quickly, but he was not in a hurry. He is only 23 years old now. As a paladin, he can live 5 years longer than ordinary apprentices. In other words, he still has 12 years. Totally enough. Moreover, he also has a lot of knowledge and skills to learn. He believes that after half a year of hard work, his strength and knowledge reserves will definitely undergo a qualitative change. What else do you need besides a cage? The potions to stabilize the Komaro's monitor lizard are also essential, and they need a lot of them, and they are all high-level potions. Roger looked at Will expectantly. You mean a potion master, right? You're also very close to Master Wizard Volteri, you should have a way to get the potion, right? No problem, leave this to me. Will took care of the potion. Then, the two of them discussed what needed to be prepared. Tasks were assigned to each. For this task, the college's reward is 300 high-level magic stones. The props and materials prepared in advance cost 100 high-level magic stones, and the net income is 200 magic stones. I get 150 and you 50. Is this split okay? Said Roger. Acceptable. It is much easier for third-class apprentices to earn magic stones than second-class apprentices. It is easy for an ordinary third-class apprentice to earn 50 or 60 high-level magic stones a year, which is the amount Will only earned after 3 years in the station. If you are a little stronger, take a little risk and get 200 or 300 high-level magic stones. Chapter 247. About 10,000 high-level magic stones are needed to attack official wizards, and 200 high-level magic stones are needed every year. It takes 50 years of hard work to get them together. Become a third-class apprentice at the age of 30, become a full-time wizard at the age of 80. They are still second-class wizards now, why think about such a distant thing? After discussing a prototype with Roger about the mission, Will left. There is still half a year to go, and there is still a lot of time for discussion, so don't be in a hurry. He also has a lot of things he wants to do. The first thing is to learn magic skills. He is not yet a third-class apprentice. Every time he uses magic power, he needs to draw it out from the magic seed, which takes a long time. Not very useful in combat. It's better to learn auxiliary magic skills, as well as mental skills. It's time to learn one or two that can stabilize your mood. He already had an idea about the choice of magic skills. There is a magical skill that he must learn as a potion master. If he wants to refine high-level secondary potions, he must learn magic skills. This is also the reason why there are so few people who can refine high-grade secondary potions. Because magic skills are needed in the refining process, and magic skills are generally only learned by third-class apprentices. And the third-class apprentices are only a few people in the college. There is an essential difference between high-level secondary potions and ordinary secondary potions. When refining high-level potions, what matters is not the efficacy of the material, but the magic power contained in it. The refining process is actually a process of reconciling magic power. So the coordination of magic skills is necessary. There is still half a year left and he can't waste it. You must learn to refine high-level secondary potions. When I came to the skill tower, I used 50 intermediate magic stones to learn the magic harmony. Next, go to the training tower to practice magic skills. Magic power reconciliation, which can reconcile different magic powers, so that different magic powers can be fused together while maintaining their own characteristics. There is almost no practical significance. But it is an indispensable skill in refining potions. He raised his magic power to level 5, and his magic skill proficiency reached the master level. But there is a difference between talking on paper and doing it in practice. There are too many magical powers in this world. Different monsters, and different raw materials contain different magical powers. There are tens to tens of millions of species. If you want to blend different magical powers together, you can't do without skills and experience. In the process of refining the potion, once it fails, not only the raw materials will be lost, but danger may also be encountered. The higher the potion is, the more dangerous the refining process is. It is very common for a big bang to happen. If it was when he had no money before, he would step by step, little by little, and spend a lot of time using scrap materials to practice magic skills. It's different now. Now that he is rich and spends a lot of money, he can enter the training tower. When I came to the training tower and expressed my purpose, I was taken to a room with a large pool. There are a total of 50,000 magical powers of different attributes stored here. Up to 20 types can appear at a time. 1 intermediate magic stone per minute. Do you understand? Okay. Will couldn't help but heartbroken. 1 intermediate magic stone every minute. Why don't you go grab it? Those who have no capital dare not enter the training tower. This is a time clock, please pay attention to the time. As soon as the guide left, Will rushed to the pool. Control the device next to it to let the magic flow into the pool. Putting his hands into the pool, he silently performed the magic skill and magic reconciliation. In the beginning, there were 3 magic powers. Reconcile the 3 magic powers, which means that you have started to reconcile magic power, and you can also refine some simple high-level secondary potions. After the 3 magic powers, there are 4, 5, 6. The attributes of mana appear randomly. So the magic is different every time you blend, and you learn something new every time. When the 9 magic powers appeared, he failed to reconcile for the first time. The 9 magic powers correspond to the 3rd level of magic skills. With my current level, I should be able to reconcile 15 magic powers. For each additional magic power, the difficulty of reconciliation increases linearly. Next, he kept training, kept failing, and kept succeeding. Finally stabilized at 13 magic powers. Shouldn't it? With my magic skills, I can at least reconcile 15 magic powers, right? Being able to reconcile 13 magic powers, he has already been able to refine most of the high-level and secondary potions. But Will is not satisfied, he wants to find out why he failed. Try again and again. At the time of 13 magic powers, the success rate of reconciliation can be stabilized at 95%. And once the 14 magic powers are reached, the success rate immediately drops below 30%. I see. After trying countless times and his magic power was about to run out, Will finally understood. Because I'm not a third-class apprentice, I can't condense magic power from every part of my body. Every time I use magic power, I need to draw it from the magic seed, so even if my control over magic power is comparable to that of a third-class apprentice, the process of using magic power is still there was a lot of extra time, which made it impossible to grasp the timing well. The reason was found. It turned out to be just a matter of boundaries. As long as he becomes a third-class apprentice, all problems will be solved. It's enough to reconcile the 13 magic powers. The proficiency is equivalent to the 4th level of magic harmony. There is not a single apprentice in the academy who can reconcile magic skills and magic power to the 4th level. As expected of a training tower, the effect is indeed much greater. Will felt like he was saving months of time by training the tower for hours. Wait, a few hours. Startled, Will looked at the timer quickly. More than 4 hours have passed. It took me 2 high-level magic stones to practice a magic skill in a few hours? Do you want to be so foolish? But there is no way. The price is so expensive, and it is worth the money. If you like to come, will they beg you to come? After paying with a black face, Will quickly left the training tower. It's better to come to the training tower less often in the future. The training tower is too expensive. It's not a place where civilians like him can often take care of. After that, it's mental skills. From the many spiritual skills, he chose 2 skills. A mantra called meditation, which can calm emotions, eliminate and weaken mental abnormalities, and resist mental attacks. It is a relatively comprehensive skill. The other is called spiritual guidance. Strong mental power can bring hypnotic ability, which can confuse people whose mental power is far lower than their own. But this hypnosis is fragile. A little bit of pain will be relieved. With a little tenacity of will, you can resist. So he chose a spiritual skill that can hypnotize others, although it can only work on people whose mental power is far weaker than his own. Spiritual guidance can change other people's thoughts and wills unconsciously. The effect is slow, but the advantage is that it lasts for a long time, and it is hidden and difficult to discover. As long as it is used well, the effect of spiritual guidance is almost permanent. With spiritual guidance, it will be much more convenient to act in the future, but you should take it easy when using it. It's better not to do things like changing the will of others at will. He chose the spiritual skill spiritual guidance, just in case. It is by no means intended to control the mind and consciousness of others. Chapter 248. In the following days, he lived a busy and fulfilling life every day. Using 1 month's learning authority, the 5 major seals have been introduced, and they have all been promoted to the 3rd level by using the source power. Because the source power that needs to be consumed next is too much, and it will not be used in battle for the time being, so it stops after the 3rd level. Another gain is that his meditation method has been promoted to the 4th level through his own practice, and his spiritual power has been further improved, reaching the upper level of the 3rd-class apprentice. Also, he is eager to learn, absorbing all kinds of knowledge like a sponge. Magic power, spiritual power, monsters, life, philosophy, language, spells, formations, there are so many things that can be learned in the academy. I want to learn a lot of knowledge, but I suffer from no courses. You can only find and learn by yourself. Constant exchange of knowledge in the Learning Mutual Aid Society. At the beginning, many students in the academy were hostile towards him. When he exchanged knowledge with many people and learned the method of exercise and meditation under his guidance, people gradually approached him, flattered him, and completely forgot the malice towards him before. Humans are such a kind of existence that seeks advantages and avoids disadvantages. At the same time, through Sarah, he successfully met Bloom. Bloom, the rumored strongest 3rd-class apprentice, seemed to be an extremely difficult old man. After actually getting along for a while, I found that Bloom is quite easy to talk to. He was learning about the demon seed beside Bloom. How to deal with magic seeds. How to increase the fusion rate of magic seeds. Can it reduce the damage caused by the demons to humans? Regarding the study of demon seeds, the wizarding world has never stopped for a moment. There are a large number of wizards all the time, dedicating their whole lives to the research of demon seeds. Because this is the cornerstone of human beings becoming stronger. However, tens of thousands of years have passed, with little effect. Improving the magic seed is infinitely more difficult than improving the breathing method. Wizards, especially wizards with third-class apprentices and above, which one is not a dragon and phoenix among people, amazingly talented and gorgeous? But generation after generation of wizards have sacrificed countless lives and time, and there is still no clue to the improvement of the demon seed. Am I smarter than them? Will not. Will considers himself a very normal person. He can get to where he is now only because he is a little bit luckier than others. While constantly absorbing knowledge and understanding demon seeds, more time is spent on researching potions. In the refining room, on the small magic stove, there is a fist-sized crucible. Will was wearing a black robe with a serious expression on his face. In front of him are 7 glass test tubes. Each one contains a different liquid, some are transparent, some are blood red, some are dark green. Some exude a fragrant smell. Some stink. Some are colorless and odorless. Will picked up a test tube containing a thick green viscous liquid and poured a drop into the cauldron. Sitsizi. The pungent smell immediately permeated the entire room. He picked up the test tubes one by one, some poured a drop, some poured half, and at the same time used the magic technique and magic power synchronization to reconcile the magic power of the total solvent of the crucible. Finally, all the liquids in the 7 test tubes were poured out. While controlling the fire power, Will used magic skills. The 7 liquids in the crucible slowly merged, and a silvery white liquid appeared. There is more and more silvery white liquid, until all the liquid in the crucible turned silvery white. Successful? Pour the refined potion into the glass tube prepared in advance, and plug the stopper. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, he stared at the potion in his hand with satisfaction. It's been half a year, and I finally succeeded in refining the star silver liquid. It's not easy. Star silver liquid, a high-level secondary potion, is a must-have potion for first-class apprentices to advance to second-class apprentices. He used to think that the star silver liquid was too expensive. It wasn't until he started refining himself that he realized that the star silver liquid sold by the Academy was too cheap. Based on the raw materials of the star silver liquid and the difficulty of refining it, it would be no problem at all to sell a bottle of star silver liquid for 50 intermediate magic stones. If you have a dark heart, you can sell a high-level magic stone. Then why is the star silver liquid sold in the Academy so cheap? Because the college has subsidized it. In the Academy, the important props related to the advancement of apprentices are really cheap. The same is true for body training methods, meditation methods, and various key medicines. In the Academy, the place where a lot of magic stones are spent is never advanced, but to learn various skills that can enhance combat effectiveness and have nothing to do with advanced. Being able to refine star silver liquid, he has become a qualified high-level potion apprentice. A second-class apprentice to a third-class apprentice needs a potion called Zeun liquid, which is also a high-level potion. I don't know when I can refine it. According to Vertili's mentor, he still needs to study for 10 years to refine Zeun liquid. It took me half a year to refine the first bottle of high-level potion. My potion science has just started, and I still have a lot to learn. Although his potions level is already the 4th in the Academy. But it's only just getting started. Put the refined star silver liquid away. There are still a few days left, let's practice a few more bottles now to stabilize the level. Half a year passed by in a flash. The day has come to set out to capture the Comoros monitor lizard. Will came to the ground building of the college and stood waiting for Roger at the appointed place. Looking at the luscious forest and listening to the swaying of the leaves, he felt as if his soul had also been purified. Immerse yourself in the beauty of nature. I don't know how long it has been. Crunch. The sound of wheels rolling behind him brought him back to his senses. Looking behind him, Raggi walked towards him step by step, pulling the huge cage covered with cloth. The things they prepare are not pulled by horses, but by human power. For the things were too heavy, and the path they ventured on was too difficult for ordinary horses. Some domesticated monsters are fine. Colleges also have something to sell. Valuable. Or save yourself trouble. His eyes flicked to Luoji, another person who was walking with Luoji. To Will's surprise, there is a girl he doesn't know next to Roger. The girl looked about 26 or 17 years old. Beautiful appearance, flat body. Will stared at the girl in surprise. What surprised him was naturally not the girl's appearance and figure. Instead, the girl was covered in white. The hair is white, the eyebrows are white, the lips are white, the skin is white, the body hair is white, the whole body is as white as snow. Not a trace of blood. From a distance, I thought it was a person made of snow. And when the girl approached, a gust of cool wind blew in her face, and a white mist filled the girl's surroundings. The closer the girl got, the colder the wind became. The fog is getting thicker. Her body surface temperature is maintained at around 4 degrees. This is the conclusion he came to after observing the girl. Roger and the girl approached. "Roggy, who is this?" Will asked suspiciously. "Aren't they the only ones tasked with catching the Comoros monitor lizard? It was decided half a year ago. Until today, I haven't heard of any accidents, have I?" "Will, this is Phoebe, also a third-class apprentice, and she will act with us later." Roger paused. "She paid us 20 high-level magic stones to lead the way." Loki secretly stroked a signal to Will. 20 high-level magic stones are divided into half? If you can get 10 high-level magic stones just by leading the way, it is naturally a very cost-effective business. He has no reason to refuse. I don't want to refuse either. Chapter 249. The Bells Mountains are located at the junction of the Cairo Empire and the Lido-Yi Empire. Stretching for thousands of miles, from south to north, spanning more than half of the continent, separating the Cairo Empire and the Lido-Yi Empire. What they are about to go to is the Jimalo Snow Peak in the Persian Mountains, which is as high as 7,000 meters above sea level, and the mountain is covered with snow all the year round. It is one of the main habitats of Como dragon monitor lizard. On the top of Jimalo Snow Peak, there is an unfrozen lake named Swedging Lake. Swedging Lake will not freeze even at a low temperature of tens of degrees below zero. It is an extremely magical and beautiful lake. It's a pity that very few people can see it with their own eyes. The girl named Phoebe who was traveling with them was going to Swedging Lake. Phoebe, a third-class apprentice. Due to the high fusion rate with the demon species, which reached an astonishing 40%, the bloodline ran amok. The blood had eroded her body, and her body was releasing cold air all the time. You must go to Swedging Lake for treatment. That's why Phoebe paid to go with them. Will is a helpful person, not to mention that the other party offered 20 high-level magic stones. How could there be any reason not to agree? The straight line distance between Jimalo Snow Peak and the college is 500 kilometers. Considering that the walking distance is usually several times the straight line distance, and they carry a lot of large and heavy things, they have to walk on the road, so it is normal to walk a distance of 1 or 2,000 kilometers. The three set off from the academy and headed towards Jimalo Snow Peak. It feels very good to do tasks with Roger. It was a completely different feeling from when Susha, and Franro acted together. This is the real adventure. Along the way, Will kept discussing knowledge with Roger. In the wizarding world, knowledge is money. The reason why Luoji is willing to teach Will all kinds of knowledge is because Will's knowledge reserve is not inferior to his. They are not teaching unilaterally, but exchanging knowledge with each other. Compared to the two of them, Phoebe is much more low-key. Phoebe barely spoke. The three of them, in 2 months, finally got close to Jimalo Snow Peak. The icy wind howled. Will and Roger alternately pulled the heavy car and walked among the snow-capped peaks. Surrounded by mountains covered with snow. Can't see any people. The three of them walked among the snow peaks, like an ant, so small and inconspicuous. Looking at the ancient city wall made of huge stones in front of you. Gunna City is coming soon. Gunna City is a city located under Jimalo Snow Peak. In Gunna City, light snowflakes fall. Merchants pulled carriages to and fro at the city gate, yelling and selling. Gunna City is located under the Jimalo Snow Peak, and many precious specialties are produced. Every year, businessmen travel to Gunna City to buy and sell goods. In the center of Gunna City, on the large training ground. It's winter right now, at a time when everyone is wearing tight clothes. A young man was shirtless, wielding an ape taller than him. Ha ha ha. In the cold weather of more than 10 degrees below zero, the boy actually sweated. His body was red and steaming. The snowflakes had melted before they fell on him. Swinging sword after sword, there is only one move, only one style, only one sword. The boy was completely immersed in this sword. Yarrow, didn't I say that there are distinguished guests coming today? Why are you still practicing swords here? A beautiful young woman in a white down jacket walked towards the boy and reprimanded him. Is the boy's mother? I dare not be interested. The boy named Arrow continued his sword swing practice. Even if your most respected Uncle Del appeared, wouldn't you go? The glamorous young woman smiled. The young arrow stopped. Asked in surprise, Uncle Del has gone too? What kind of distinguished guest can alarm Uncle Del? The great knight Del is the strongest in Gunna City. He has a withdrawn and arrogant personality, and even the city lord's father doesn't show a good face when facing him. It is even more impossible to attend a banquet. He begged Del to accept him as an apprentice since he was 10 years old. Even though he had received a lot of teaching from Del, Del was still unwilling to accept him after several years. His task of swinging the sword was also arranged by Del. Your Uncle Del respects the guests who came here. The young woman covered her mouth and laughed. Real? Yarrow couldn't believe how respectful Del was spitting in his father's face. I heard that the adult is Del's teacher, don't you want to see him? Uncle Del's teacher? Aroma threw up and down in the middle, and ran towards the banquet venue as if flying. Wait, you should at least change your clothes. After changing into a dress, Yarrow came to the banquet. There were people coming and going at the banquet, and handsome men and women wearing gifts toasted and danced with smiles on their faces. All the people present were noble people. The identities of many people are not inferior even in the face of the city lord. It's just that at this moment, everyone is looking in a certain direction intentionally or unintentionally. As soon as Yarrow came in, he noticed. Those were 3 people exuding an inexplicable aura. One was an unusually white woman who seemed to be made out of snow. One was a noble young master with a gentle smile who looked a year or 2 younger than him. The other is a middle-aged uncle with a stern face, no smile, and eyes as calm as the surface of a lake. In front of that middle-aged uncle, stood a cautious figure Del. Del, a lonely and proud knight. She actually showed an excited and shy expression to a middle-aged man, like a girl seeing a dreamy Prince Charming. Are you a Huaichun girl from somewhere? Yarrow couldn't help complaining in his heart. Quickly walked over. Uncle Del, who are they? Yarrow asked strangely standing beside Del. Be polite. Del yelled at Yarrow in a low voice. Are you talking about being polite to me? Talking about etiquette with me? Yarrow's mouth twitched, feeling complicated in his heart. Is this really the Uncle Del he knew? Master Luoji, this is the son of the lord of the city, Roha, he is half of my student, he has a good talent, he just became a knight not long ago. Del pulled Yarrow, I will meet Lord Luoji and Phoebe soon. My lord and my lord will? Yarrow greeted reluctantly. Especially when facing Will, I am only about the same age as me. I am already a knight and the son of the city lord. Why should I respectfully call him an adult? Uncle Del, you are so strange today, why do you use honorifics for this kind of person? Yarrow finally couldn't help it. Shut up! Snapped. Del's arm clapped hard on Yarrow's shoulder. The force was so great that Yarrow's body almost fell to his knees. Lord Luoji, please don't be as knowledgeable as this kid. Delpo laughed. Yarrow noticed that the person Del's uncalled Lord Roger looked at him, his eyes were so calm, and he could clearly see himself in the other's eyes. For some reason, he suddenly felt a wave of fear in his heart. A wordless, deep-seated fear. Chapter 250. There was no malice in those pupils. But he seemed to be shrouded in the shadow of death, and his body couldn't help shaking. Who is he? He had never experienced this kind of fear from his heart in the 19 years since he was born. It was like facing a natural enemy. A fear that emanates from the depths of our genes. This is Luoji, Uncle Del's teacher? Uncle Del is already the peak of the great knight, so how strong is he? Roger was better than Del, he figured it out. At this time, a cold wind blew by. The cold wind entered his body through the gaps in his clothes, causing goosebumps all over his body. It is already in the cold winter, and the dress is thin. When the cold wind blows, the body instantly becomes icy cold. Where is the window open? I am not afraid of exercising naked in the environment of -10 degrees, but I am afraid of the cold wind? Just being scared. Looking in the direction of the cold wind, there is no open window, but a young girl. A girl in a white dress, as white as snow. The girl's body was as cold as an ice cube, and she continuously radiated cold air to her surroundings. He could clearly notice that the bodies of the people around the girl were shaking from the cold. What is that woman who can emit cold air? Yarrow was surprised. There were so many things that surprised him tonight. There is Loki who is far more powerful than the great knight Del. Phoebe's body was as cold as ice. And. The ordinary little noble Will? standing outside the balcony blowing cold wind. Who are those three people? Yarrow was full of doubts. Why does Uncle Del respect them so much? Why are they so powerful? For Roger, he was deeply terrified. Not only him, but everyone at the banquet was instinctively afraid of Luo Ji. Even Del, beneath the surface of respect, hides a deep fear. And Phoebe, she's pretty. Although she was too white and kept a straight face, if it was normal, many people would invite her to dance. But for some reason, Phoebe's body was as cold as ice, and she continued to emit a cold air. It's fine if it's summer, but now it's winter, and everyone is still wearing frivolous gifts. It's hard to stay by her side. Even with the fireplace and stove in the hall, it was still cold. Those who have practiced breathing techniques like them are naturally not afraid of them, but those little girls are different. In such a cold day, their bodies are shaking all the time, and they are still wearing such revealing clothes. I really don't know what they are thinking. Looking at the girl's limbs that were red with cold, Yarrow said speechlessly. I think so too. Since it's cold, wouldn't it be better to wear something thicker? It's also good to wear a mink coat. It's warm and good looking, and it's aristocratic. That's right. Yarrow suddenly turned his head to look at the speaker. Are you Will? Will, one of the three honored guests, walked to the balcony at some point and stood beside him. For Roger, he was terrified. For Phoebe, he is convinced. Only Will. Why do you want me to call him an adult? He looks younger than me, with thin arms and legs, and he doesn't want to look like he has practiced. Will was like many nobles he had met. White and tender, elegant and polite. Know how to please women. Know how to make people feel good. Just no strength. In his opinion, this kind of sissy guy is very disgusting. Unfortunately, many girls like such a person. At the banquet, a bunch of cute and beautifully dressed girls and young women circled around Will. Among those girls, there is also his lovely sister Ceci. Those glamorous young women were obviously married, and some of their husbands were still at the banquet, so they blatantly seduced Will. Humph, what's so good about that guy? A man with a firm face like his, full body muscles, and dark skin is a real man. He's not jealous. He has too many women, just a little boy, is it worth his envy? Unexpectedly, Will actually appeared in front of him, and he looked very familiar and friendly with him. Looking at the other party's harmless smiling face, he almost couldn't help punching him. Master Will, are you here? A lovely girl in a light dress opened the curtain and walked to the balcony. Ceci stared at Will with bright eyes, and hugged Will tightly. Ceci. Yarrow glared at his sister. When did his sister become so shameless? She actually hugged a man whom she had just met not long ago. Brother, are you there? Ceci glanced at Yarrow with a guilty conscience, and suddenly raised his chest. My lord mother made me do this, and Lord Will. Ceci stared at Will with watery eyes. Feeling the warmth in my arms. Will sighed involuntarily. He just told a few jokes, talked about some adventure stories he knew, and sent out a few gems to collect and send them back to his wife and children to play, but in the end, he collected too many gems that could not be exchanged for magic stones as gifts. A bunch of women pestering him? Even a pure girl is fine. What's the matter with the young woman? He could feel the eyes of resentment falling on him. The resentful whispers of the suffering masters could be clearly heard in the ears. For some reason, I've become green on someone else? Your name is Will, right? Yarrow walked towards Will in a dark voice. He stared and stared at his sister lying on Will's chest, but Ceci still didn't move, showing no intention of leaving. My lovely sister, my obedient sister, my pure sister. Yarrow gritted his teeth, this kind of man will never be forgiven. What's the matter with you? Will noticed Yarrow's angry eyes, especially when he looked at the girl in his arms, the flames became more vigorous. Is this girl named Ceci the one he likes? Although their brothers and sisters are calling each other. But who knows if they are siblings? In this world, it is normal for cousins to get married. Circe, get out of the way, I have something to talk to him. Yarrow pulled Circe away. Ceci reluctantly left Will's arms, muttering, Brother, you are too rude, Mr. Will is our distinguished guest, how can you just call him? Ignoring Ceci's thoughts, Yarrow looked directly into Will's eyes and said, Are you Lord Roger's student? I'm Roger's student? It seems so. Will has indeed attended Roger's class, and it's not wrong to say that he is Roger's student, but it's definitely not the relationship Yarrow thought. I'm Uncle Del's student. Well, I heard that Uncle Del once learned martial arts from Lord Roger. I wonder what level you are as a student of Lord Roger? Yarrow approached Will step by step. Ah! Will didn't even know why the other party suddenly went crazy. Brother, you are so rude, please apologize to Lord Will. Sissy said angrily. Chapter 251. Do you dare to compare with me? Yarrow said so, definitely not in a whim. Will is the first person he has met since he was born, whose status and talent may all be above him. And he was Del's student. Will is Roger's student. The thought of Del bowing his knees in front of Roger gave him a pang of pain. Master Luoji may be very powerful, but a strong person does not mean that the students will also be strong. I will definitely fight for Uncle Del. Why should I compete with you? Will felt baffled, he didn't do anything. If you lose, you must use a respectful title for Uncle Del, and you can no longer let Uncle Del call you an adult, and if you win, I will let you dispose of it. Will was taken aback. At my disposal? Will observed Yarrow carefully, paying attention to every detail from body shape to movements to demeanor. He could see that Yarrow was a very talented man. Also a very hard-working person. It's a pity that I didn't get the guidance of a famous teacher, and the potential contained in my body couldn't be fully stimulated. If the current progress continues, whether Yarrow can break through the realm of knighthood in his lifetime and become a great knight is still a problem. Such a good seed, since I met it, I can't waste it. Before he knew it, Will found that he fell in love with being a teacher. Teaching others and watching the raw jade take shape in his hands is so refreshing. Noticing Will staring at him with glowing eyes and drooling at the corners of his mouth, Yarrow took a step back in fright. He knows a lot about the absurd things among the nobles. Looking at Will's fiery eyes, he remembered Will's unmoved look just now surrounded by many beauties. At first I thought Will was just putting on a show. Now it seems. Start here? Will asked anxiously, the sooner it ends, the more time he can teach. Seeing Will's anxious expression, Yarrow confirmed the conjecture in his heart even more. I didn't expect to see him as a dignified, gentle, kind, and polite noble young master, but I didn't know how to be that kind of person. As the son of the city lord, he has never seen or heard of all kinds of incredible things. If I lose? Will I be let down by him? Yarrow actually flinched in his heart. Humph, how could I lose? A noble young master like this kind of delicate skin and tender flesh, even he a knight will not be my opponent who has experienced many battles. If you lose, it's okay. He is not a woman. It is women who take the so-called first time so important. As a man, what is he afraid of? Brother, don't. Sissy jumped out, pale. Her mother instructs her to get close to Will, and Sissy, who has seen a lot of rough men, also has a good impression of the polite Will. In fact, the reason why there are so many women around Will, including herself, is that Will knows Luoji and has a close relationship with Luoji, and maybe he is a child of a big family. The main reason is it's so warm to be around him. It's winter now, and I'm still wearing a light dress. Phoebe also continued to release air conditioning, causing the temperature in the banquet hall to drop by a few degrees. At this time, Will, who exudes a warm breath, is so alluring. Is that heart-warming temperature because of love? Ah, in the face of the cold, the human heart is so fragile. She let go of her reserve and huddled next to Will with the other women. It looks so shameless. But she still has reason. She knew Will couldn't be offended. Others may not be clear, but she who has been entangled with Will knows that the relationship between Will and Roger is not at all the relationship between teachers and students as others have guessed. Will may be Roger's student, but when the two of them communicate, they speak as equals. Lord Roger's strength is still higher than that of Uncle Del. Lord Will's ability to communicate with Lord Roger on an equal footing is definitely not due to his own talent and strength, but to the power of the family. What kind of power can allow a family child to communicate with the great Knight Peak on an equal footing? At least it's the Earl's family. It's definitely not something that a small Viscount family like ours can offend. Sissy kept winking at Yarrow. Some words are inconvenient to say in front of Will, but she believes that with their tacit understanding for many years, Yarrow will be able to understand what she means. She breathed a sigh of relief seeing Yarrow lower her head with her lips pursed. That's good. We are just a Viscount family. Although we are in charge of the Gunna City, and there are many rare specialties in the Gunna City, it is still a remote and cold place after all. The power of the family is far from that of a viscount in a prosperous area, let alone Will, who is at least from the Earl family. It's just that Yarrow is destined not to do what she wants. Yarrow lowered his head and gritted his teeth, bleeding from his lips. In the end, his heart broke. He looked up at Will and said, "Let's go to the training ground to compete." "No problem." Will nodded in agreement. "Brother." Ceci stamped her feet anxiously, but Yarrow didn't look at her at all. "Master Will, please don't argue with brother, let's go play some more interesting games?" Ceci said coquettishly to Will. With a bright smile on his face. She fully showed her best side, and she believes that there is no man who will not be tempted. This trick has been tried and tested in her more than 10 years of career. "Don't worry, I won't hurt your brother." Will smiled and tapped Ceci's head, then quickly followed Yarrow's pace. After watching both Will and Yarrow walk away, Ceci kept stomping her feet and waving her hands vigorously, like a crazy woman. 1 or 2, why is every man like this? She wanted to tell her parents about it, but she was worried about making things worse. It's just a competition, it won't be a problem, right? Brother should know how to measure it. She didn't think Will would win. Others only think that Will's skin is fair. But she had touched it herself, and Will's skin was as smooth as the finest satin, delicate and soft, and exuded a refreshing fragrance. It is the skin and body fragrance that every girl dreams of. All women including her are envious. If it weren't for Will's unusual status, she would have asked Will how he took care of his skin. And there are no thick calluses on the hands. A person with such skin and palms may be a swordsman who exercises every day from morning to night. Still, she had a crush on Will. The family is strong, the teacher is powerful, and I have good talent. According to her guess, Will still has some quasi-knight cultivation. After thinking and thinking, Ceci rushed out of the banquet. "Come to the training ground." There are no people around, only the deserted moonlight. Snow covered the whole world. His eyes were white. In the snow that covered their calves, 2 men stood 10 meters apart with sharp swords in their hands. The battle is on the verge of breaking out. 2 idiots. She looked at Will and Yarrow worriedly. No matter which one failed or which one was injured, it was not what she wanted to see. All she can do now is pray. "God, why are you so cruel? Let me watch the 2 men I love so much draw their swords at each other? If it is my sin, please punish me." Ceci knelt down on his knees, clasped his hands on his chest, and looked up at the moon hanging high in the sky. Like a playwright alive. Chapter 252. I became a knight a month ago, what about you? Yarrow decided to learn about Will's strength first, in case it would be bad if he hit hard. Sister Ceci's reminder was not useless. "Probably also a knight?" Will said ambiguously. "Puff, a knight is a knight, if it's not, what's a rough idea?" Yarrow sneered. He saw that Will was trying to save face. "How about we just compete in swordsmanship?" Will suggested. "Can?" Yarrow thought secretly, "You know I'm a knight, so you're scared? Don't you think I'll lose to you in the swordsmanship competition? If you only talk about the advanced level of swordsmanship, he is definitely not as good as Will, whose teacher is Roger. But fighting does not depend on whether the sword is good or not. More often it depends on combat experience and the use of swordsmanship. Poor guy, don't you even know why I have the courage to challenge you?" Yarrow looked at Will with pity. "I thought you were also a knight at first, and your breathing skills might still be at my level. Above." But he challenged Will anyway. Because he has absolute self-confidence. The swordsmanship honed in the battle is definitely not comparable to the swordsmanship that has been learned to look good, has never seen blood, and can be clicked. Back then, when he hadn't been on the battlefield, and hadn't fought life and death, he was as confident as Will. However, when he saw blood for the first time, he, who considered himself a warrior, almost peed his pants. Had nightmares for days on end. It was only under the guidance of Uncle Del that he gradually stepped out of the shadows. "I want you to understand that swordsmanship is not for performance, not to show to teachers and elders, to get rewards, but to kill the enemy and find a way out." Yarrow's words resounded loudly. Yarrow's body moved. Like a cheetah on the hunt. His strong muscles gave him great strength. Without using his vitality, his speed unexpectedly reached an astonishing 70 kilometers. If the vitality explodes, the speed can exceed 100 per hour. True swordsmanship depends not only on the sword in hand. Footwork, steps, eyes, Breathing. In actual combat, the cooperation of all aspects is needed to maximize the power of swordsmanship. And the most important thing is strength and speed. All the subtle moves are nothing but castles in the air without strong backing. It shatters when touched. This is the experience summed up by countless ancestors, as well as himself, who fought time after time and under the guidance of teachers. Yarrow punches Will in the face. Quick. Fast. He has already grasped the essence of the straight stab. Have you been blocked? Yarrow was not discouraged. If Will couldn't even block the first sword, he would be disappointed. Yarrow's figure twisted, and the tip of the sword drew a strange arc, cutting towards Will's left leg. Will took a step back, narrowly dodging the slash. Yarrow ran quickly around Will, and the sword turned into dots of starlight and continuously attacked Will's various vital organs. All attacks were blocked or dodged one by one. And so calm and elegant. This is what you rely on? Yarrow finally got serious, and he admitted that he really underestimated Will before. He is not conducting a frontal attack, but trying to find a flaw and launch an attack at a blind spot. Under his series of violent attacks, Will remained motionless. Very good at defense? He admitted that Will's swordsmanship was superior to his. As expected of Lord Roger's student, I'm not as good as you in a pure swordsmanship competition. He finally understood where Will's confidence came from. But Yarrow smiled, and his left foot suddenly turned into an afterimage and attacked Will's lower body. Sword competition, do you really only use swordsmanship? You are too naive, young master. While Will's footsteps were flustered, he hit his shoulder and knocked Will's body completely off balance. What? Will unexpectedly rolled onto the ground and distanced himself from him. Cut. Yarrow smacked his lips. Fortunate guy, there will be no next time. Next, he kept attacking Will. Looking for opportunities again and again, each time when he was about to succeed, Will escaped narrowly and narrowly. Damn, what's going on? Yarrow gradually became anxious. You're being careless. Well. His feet slipped and his body lost his balance. Did you step on the ice? Relying on his familiarity with the training ground, he didn't look at the ground very much, but this confidence hurt him. Watching the blade approaching his head, Yarrow closed his eyes in despair. The pain I thought about never came. Opening his eyes, he saw Will standing not far away with his hands behind his back. And his younger sister Ceci, who ran over at some point, watched him worriedly, and kept checking his body. I lost? Yarrow still looked dazed, not believing that he would lose to Will. I shouldn't have promised you just to compete in swordsmanship. Since he was a child, he has mainly fought against giant beasts such as snowmen, wild men, and giant statues, rather than humans. His swordsmanship has also been cultivated with ferocious beasts and monsters as objects. He originally thought that he had a lot of combat experience, and it would be no problem to hit Will. He overestimated himself. Experience is also divided into objects. The surprise of fighting a beast is different from the experience of fighting a human. He may not have been in a life and death match, but he will always have a lot of tricks with others. With Mr. Luoji as a partner, it is natural for me to lose to him. Yarrow is a very optimistic person. If you lose, you lose. Never deny it. Although I am still unconvinced, but this time. I lost, but next time I will definitely win. Yarrow said, clenching his fists. Let's think about it next time. You won't go back on your previous agreement, right? Will stared at Yarrow with bright eyes, as if looking at a piece of uncut jade. What to do with only one night? After Will's reminder, Yarrow's face suddenly turned pale. He almost forgot the promise just now. Breaking a contract is not something a man would do. The challenge was proposed by him, and the bet on winning or losing was made by himself. How could he go back on his word? Feeling Will's greedy eyes staring at his body, he knew that he couldn't escape tonight. I didn't expect that I would have a day to serve a man. Ridiculous, sad, and helpless. At this time, Ceci also remembered the bet before the war. Just now, because I was too worried about Will and Yarrow, my mind was in a mess, so I didn't think much about it. Now seeing Yarrow's face and Will's eyes, she immediately understood. Ceci is not a pure blank slate. For many things, she still understands and observes. Master Will and brother. It was clearly in the cold winter, outdoors at -10 degrees, but Ceci felt his head was hot and his nostrils were bleeding. In that case, let's get started, Will said. The night is too short, every second counts. Is it here? Yarrow lowered his head and blushed. For him, the night was still long. Can I watch? It's okay for me to participate. Regardless of Yarrow's murderous eyes, Ceci said with crazy eyes. Chapter 253. Yarrow wailed in a low voice and lay on the bed with red marks all over his body. Ceci sat by the bed with warm water, and carefully wiped Yarrow's body with a moist and soft towel. Yarrow's body twitched from time to time, and occasionally let out a breath of cool air. Outside the door. In the city lord's mansion. Will sat on a 5-meter-high long rock. Looking into the distance, watching the snow scene under the moonlit night. If you want to become stronger, it is useless to rely on perseverance alone. Breathing is not such a crude thing. There are many details wrong in the breathing method practiced by Yarrow. Yarrow has grown up to this day with perseverance and hard work, and has become a knight, which can be called a genius. But his body was also secretly injured. Will healed Yarrow's body and got rid of the hidden dangers in his body. Originally, he could have healed Yarrow easily and happily, but since it was the punishment for failing the challenge, he had to suffer a little bit. If he can follow my advice, his cultivation speed will be 20% faster in the future. Just the thought of Yarrow's gaze wishing he could tear him to pieces. I knew there was little hope. I feel that my understanding of breathing methods is getting deeper and deeper. Basically, I can see the shortcomings and mistakes of other people's breathing methods. The next step is to try to find samples. Only after he customized improved breathing methods for tens of millions of people could he create a simple, easy to understand and powerful breathing method. But not now. Looking into the distance. After 3 peaks, the towering Gimolo snow peak soars into the sky. It won't be long before the shackles on me will be lifted. The limitation of lifespan has always been a serious concern for him. He was terrified, waking up from his dream all the time. When will he die? What to do with the knowledge in his mind when he died? What will happen to the wife and children at home? But not for long. In just a few short months, he no longer has to be afraid. If nothing else happens, I have a 100% chance of becoming a third-class apprentice. If even he failed to advance, then there would be no third-class apprentices in this world. Look up at the sky. Light and cold snowflakes fell in the wind. It's winter. This was the first time he saw snow after leaving the family. When I was studying at Nice College in Kana Province, I could feel the changes of the 4 seasons, and I would pay attention to my clothes in winter and spring. Ever since I went to Zero Potion Academy, especially after I went to Kava City. There are no seasons at all. It is so hot 365 days a year. It's snowing in my hometown, right? I wonder how Naya is doing. It's been 5 years since I came out. I guess my children don't know me as a father, right? Will took out a green bamboo from his arms. This is what he took with him, and there is not much bamboo left. There is nothing better than eating bamboo when you are homesick. Although this township is a bit different from that township. After eating the last bamboo, Will stood up, wanting to go back and rest. We're leaving tomorrow, we need to keep our spirits up, hey? Will saw a girl walking in the snow. The girl's silver-white hair flutters in the wind, her skin is fairer than snow, and she walks in the snow like a legendary snow elf. Beautiful, elegant, dreamy. Phoebe? Phoebe noticed Will too, and nodded to Will. Watching Phoebe's disappearing figure, Will sighed, what a mysterious woman. Early morning. Under the leadership of the great knight Del, Will, Roger and Phoebe headed towards Gimolo Snow Peak. Starting from Gunna City to reach Gimolo Snow Peak, you have to cross 3 peaks and walk several kilometers to reach it. And there aren't any roads along the way. It's all slopes and snowdrifts. They carried a lot of things, each carrying a big package, and a huge cage. It was really not an easy task to reach Gimolo Snow Peak without a guide. However, what they want to go is not a mountain road, but a cave. Del took them to the foot of a hill and removed a huge rock, revealing a cold and dark cave on the ground. Cool air was blowing from the cave. It was cold outside, 10 degrees below zero. However, the wind in the cave is even colder, not only freezing the human body, but also directly entering the human heart. Hoo-hoo! There was a terrifying whistling sound from the cave. Looking down, it was completely dark, without any light, and could not feel any warmth. Like a passage to hell. Del raised the torch and jumped down first. Will, Phoebe, and Roger followed suit. They are not even afraid of a mere great knight, so what are their 3 third-class apprentices afraid of? Clap clap. The body fell in a straight line for 10 meters and landed safely. The ground was knee-deep in water, much colder than ice. Will gave a goosebump when he first touched it. Boom! This is the sound made by Roger jumping down with a huge cage. The water splashed everywhere, wetting everyone present. The torches were also extinguished. All around suddenly darkened. Bathed in icy water, Will controlled his body to tremble slightly, dissipating heat and resisting the cold. At this time, he felt a trembling person grabbing his sleeve. Del is just a big knight after all. Getting wet in the cold winter is more uncomfortable than that. But why are you a big man grabbing me? Is it disgusting? Will resisted lightly, motioning for the opponent to let go. The result is a tighter pull. At first he just pulled his sleeves, and then he hugged his arm directly. What the hell? Will wanted to just push him away. No, Del is a big man with a height of nearly 2 meters. His arms are not so thin. Is it Phoebe? Relight the torch. Sure enough, Phoebe was holding her. Phoebe, who was already extremely pale, turned paler now. The body was still shaking. The cold air emanating from his body became even colder. Phoebe looked up at Will pitifully, her eyes full of pleading for help. I have an ice bloodline, why am I still afraid of the cold? Is it because the bloodline's rampage has worsened? Will accelerated the peristalsis of muscles and blood flow in his body, and the consumption of vitality intensified. A wave of heat wrapped around him, and his whole body exuded a warm and friendly atmosphere. Phoebe's complexion improved a lot. Thanks. The sound is very soft, almost inaudible. Go faster, it will be much warmer to the front. Del held a torch and drenched in the water to lead the way. Will and Phoebe walk side by side. Roger was last, pulling the cage. Originally thought that what Del said was just to comfort them, now it is cold winter, and it is an underground world, and the ground is still flowing with ice water below zero. How could it be warmed up? Walked for about half an hour. The water on the ground is getting shallower. From not reaching the knees, to not reaching the calves, to barely covering the insteps. Until they hit the ground. Chapter 254. Hot wind blows from the depths of the cave. The deeper you go, the stronger the wind and the hotter it is. The wet clothes were dried, the skin burned like it was baked by fire, the air was hot and dry, and there was an unpleasant sulfur smell. There was a faint red flame ahead. The light gradually became clearer. When I walked in, I realized that what was shining was actually magma. The red magma exudes faint light and heat, flowing slowly. Jimalo Snow Peak is an active volcano, and it is located under the snow peak, and we will see more and more magma in the future, Del explained. Really? At first all you see are small streams of lava. As we walked, the stream became bigger and bigger, turning into a magma channel. And the surrounding temperature became hotter and hotter, reaching an astonishing 50 degrees. Ordinary people will faint from dehydration within 10 minutes. Even Will, Roger, and Phoebe, who are as strong as third-class apprentices, feel uncomfortable all over. The great knight Del was even more unbearable, panting continuously, drinking water while walking. Although it was uncomfortable, it was the first time Will saw magma, so he was still very interested. Get close to the magma and observe carefully. Stretch out your finger and poke towards the magma. Be careful. Don't touch it. Seeing Will's movement, Del's face changed suddenly, and he exclaimed. It's okay. Will's fingers didn't stop. Sitsizi. The high temperature of the magma eroded Will's fingers. The flesh and blood on the tip of the finger was burned away, exposing the scorched and blackened finger bone. Flesh and blood, after all, only this level? Will was disappointed. His body was already much stronger than most third-class apprentices. But when faced with the magma whose temperature was less than 1000 degrees Celsius, his strong body had no ability to resist. He was poked and burned all of a sudden, and even his bones turned black. Third-class apprentices are still too weak in the face of the power of nature. Even if one becomes a first-level wizard, one should be slightly inferior in the face of natural disasters such as hurricanes, tsunamis, and earthquakes. I just used pure flesh and blood to test it. If I stimulate my vitality and use magic power, the resistance time should be much longer and the injury will be much lighter. Will still wanted to try it, but he noticed that Del was anxious. Face, just think about it. Master Will, Didn't I remind you not to touch it? Del wanted to reprimand Will, but suddenly stopped in the middle of speaking, his eyes widened incredulously, staring at Will's fingers. The flesh and blood on Will's fingers squirmed, and the wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a minute, the injury from being burned by the magma will completely heal. I'll be more careful next time. Will apologized to Del. Try it again when you have time. After all, it is also very important to know the limits of your body. If you try your best, can you swim in the magma in a short time? At this stage, I'm afraid it's not enough. Del took a deep look at Will, and then continued to lead the way without saying a word. Del seemed calm on the surface, but his heart was like a tornado. I knew they were very strong, not just Lord Roger, but the other two are not idle people, but I didn't expect that Will, who seems to be the weakest, is also a complete monster. Needless to say, Luo Ji is powerful in all aspects without rigidity. For a guy at the level of a great knight like him, Roggy doesn't need to shoot at all, he can defeat him with just his eyes. And Phoebe, a seemingly weak little girl. His body exudes a cold air. For those chills, ordinary people would only find it strange, and they would only find out after their strength reached a certain level. That was no ordinary chill at all. It was formed by a strange and powerful force. It is not an exaggeration to call it cold poison. The cold air emitted by Phoebe can corrode the human body, penetrate into the human bone marrow, and settle in the deepest part of the human body. The cold poison continues to accumulate, and the adverse effects on the body gradually intensify until the day when it completely breaks out. The average person will feel unwell for a day or two. He died within 10 days. Staying by Phoebe's side for a long time, even a knight can't survive a month. Even Del, as a peak existence of a great knight, did not dare to get too close to Phoebe. But Roger and Will stood next to Phoebe as if it was a matter of course. It was as if the cold poison did not exist. Will, who seemed to be the weakest, also had a palpitating power flowing under the golden pupil of his left eye. Its physique is not weak either. In that huge cage, each iron pillar was as thick as a human thigh, and the iron chains for people to walk could be as big as an arm. The entire cage must weigh more than 10,000 catties. Will and Roger exchanged hands and pulled each other forward. Although pulling 10,000 jin of cargo does not mean using 10,000 jin of strength, it is definitely a lot. If it were him, it would definitely not be so easy. There is also the inhuman self-healing ability. Each of them is a veritable monster. Del sighed in his heart. Compared to them, what am I? Del is tall, 2 meters tall and weighs 105 kilograms. The hair is abundant, and the beard almost covers the entire face. Chest hair as thick as hair. The whole person looked like a black bear in clothes, like a ferocious savage. He has been feared since childhood. People called him a monster, mocked him openly and secretly, and slandered him. When he became stronger, this phenomenon gradually decreased, and most of them feared him, and avoided him. If I'm a monster, what about them? Roger, a handsome and strong middle-aged man. Phoebe, a flat little girl. Will, a noble young master who knows nothing about the world. It looks like this. However, all three of them have the ability to kill him instantly. How many such monsters are there on the dark side of this world? Del could only smile wryly in his heart. What kind of huge cage did you bring to Jimalo Snow Peak? What do you want to catch? Del asked Will about his doubts. Because of the three, Will seemed to be the one who talked better. In fact, it was Will who talked the most and asked him the most questions along the way, mostly about volcanoes, caves, and the underground world. We're going to catch the Comoros monitor lizard. Will said with a smile. What? The legendary monster, a Comoros monitor lizard that can destroy a city? Del felt that his breathing was about to stagnate. The Komorian monitor lizard, a legendary monster with inhuman power. 700 years ago, the ancestor of Yarrow, the first lord of the city of Gunna Abana Kalhoud. With 8 great knights, 30 knights, and 500 elite soldiers, it took several years of planning and paid a huge price to successfully kill a Comoros monitor lizard. Therefore, he was named the Viscount of Gunna City by the king. The legend of Abana has been handed down to this day, and has been eulogized by the people of Gunna City for generations. Even in the entire Lidoya Empire, it is a well-known existence. And all of this is just thinking that he killed a Comoros monitor lizard. Chapter 255. Now. Just 3 people. Just want to complete the great cause of killing the Comoros monitor lizard? Comparable to the hero Abner? No, not comparable, but beyond. Because judging from the huge cage they brought and Will's words just now, their purpose is not to kill the Komodo dragon monitor lizard, but to capture it. Generally speaking, capturing is several times more difficult than killing. Their strength is much stronger than I imagined. As for whether these people are arrogant or confident, he will see with his own eyes. Whether it is failure or success, he will witness the birth of legends, and he will witness the struggle between the world's top fighters. To see such a powerful battle, my life is worth it. At this time, the strength of the great knight he was proud of was so weak. Step on the underground cave. Lava flowed beside him. The air is so hot and smelly. Da-da-da. Ka-ka-ka. The footsteps of the four people and the sound of the rolling wheels echoed in the empty cave, and spread far away, drowned in darkness. The rough pavement suddenly turned into a tidy surface of bricks. Rusty oil lamps adorn the walls of heavy stone. The pipeline and direction of magma flow can be clearly seen to be artificially constructed and guided. It's a huge city. A big city built under the mountains and in the dirt. Will has also seen the underground city, which is the lair of the four-armed ghost ape. But far less magnificent than the present. Not a level at all. Needless to say, just look at the pipes where the magma flows. Even the magma is used by this city. Will glanced at the faces of the other three. Dell, who led the way, showed emotion and shock, as if saying, no matter how many times I see this scene, I feel extremely shocked. Roger still looked calm, as if no matter what happened, there would be no change. Obviously, both Dell and Roger knew about the city's existence. Phoebe's expression was subtle. She was really surprised by the sudden appearance of the city, but more of it was the anxiety of when will I reach Jimalo Snow Peak. Phoebe's health is getting worse. The skin became whiter and whiter, and the cold air emitted became colder. Standing within 5 meters of her, she couldn't even feel the heat of the magma. This coldness not only affected others, but also became more and more obvious to Phoebe herself. It was obvious that her body was shaking. However, Will is interested in the city as a whole. The speed of progress is so fast, there is not much difference between speaking and not speaking. Where is this underground city? I haven't checked it in the database. Will asked Dell. For this adventure, he still did a lot of homework. At least I have checked a lot of information about Jimalo Snow Peak. But never heard of this city. Was it built by humans? Or a monster? Or other aliens? What is the name of this city, when it was built, and when it was abandoned? I don't know very well, I only know that this is the city of dwarves. Dell replied. Dwarves? Will was startled. Dwarves are an intelligent race that exists in this world. It is rumored that dwarves are short in stature, strong in muscle, good at forging weapons, and like to build cities in mountains and underground. It is a magical race. I heard that dwarves like to build cities along the mine veins. I didn't expect it to be true. He remembered all kinds of legends about dwarves. Dwarf cities and ruins have been dug up in many places. It is because the minerals have been dug out. He looked at the surrounding scenery with interest. Carefully looked at the city of the dwarves. If there is a chance, I really want to discuss with the dwarves. I heard that they like to drink. I wonder if they can exchange good wine for weapons? Forging technology? Will imagined. He asked Dell with bright eyes, there must be many powerful weapons hidden in the city, right? If you can dig out a handful or two. Hey. No. Dell spread his hands and said, I don't even know that it has existed for tens of thousands of years. Where is there anything left? Anything worth a little bit has been dug away long ago. Saying that, Dell sighed. Maybe there is still a little left? Will was still unwilling to give up easily. Getting a great weapon is one thing. He was more interested in the lore of the dwarves. Murals engraved with the history of the dwarves? Books that record forging methods? Furnace and technology for dwarves to forge weapons? No matter how precious things are, they are only temporary, and only knowledge can last forever. No, nothing at all, not to mention precious things, not even scrap copper, rotten iron, and dilapidated stoves. Seeing Will's expression of unwillingness to give up, Dell said helplessly, it's because of this that the successive city lords of Gunna City blocked the news and didn't want to easily tell about the dungeon. After hearing Dell's words, Will acquiesced. Yes. There is such a city of ancient dwarves. Who doesn't covet? Who wouldn't want to come in and have an adventure? Maybe luck? Even a wizard apprentice like him who knows a lot about the world and is not interested in ordinary money weapons is interested, so what about other ordinary people? The Comoros monitor lizard can't beat it. Isn't it okay to explore an abandoned city? Just in this way, Gunna City will be in chaos. Maybe it will become an adventure city like a Mark City. Is Adventure City bad? Good and bad. Adventure is a man's waste, and it is the dream of every passionate teenager. But it's also hell. Can easily see the dark side of human nature. For a little benefit, how many adventurers drew their swords to face each other? How many dirty deals are there secretly in order to obtain information? There are already many ferocious beasts and monsters near Gunna City, but because it is located in a remote mountain and covered with snow all the year round, it is even more astonishingly cold in winter. That's why there are few adventurers. Once the news of the underground dwarf city is conveyed, a lot of adventurers must come surging. That's right, after all, it's a city with tens of thousands of young people. On the surface, he said so, but in his heart, he secretly thought that he must come and explore it if he had the opportunity in the future. A quaint stone gate appeared in front of them, blocking their final path. This gate is called the Gate of Power. Only through the Gate of Power can we truly enter the city, the core area of the City of Dwarves. Del explained. How to open it? They don't care about the Gate of Power. They just want to reach Gimalo Snow Peak as soon as possible. The Gate of Power has no mechanism, it can only be opened by pure strength. Del pressed his hands on the stone gate. It is rumored that only a dwarf who can open the Gate of Power can become a qualified dwarf warrior. Will glanced at the so-called Gate of Power. The stone gate is made of two huge stones, without any patterns or decorations, it is very simple and unsophisticated. The muscles of Del's whole body swelled, and white life force burst out from his whole body. Ka. The doorway, which weighed hundreds of thousands of caddies, slowly moved away, barely revealing a gap for people to walk through. Del panted profusely with sweat. Go, this door will close automatically. Open it a little bigger? They carry huge cages, and the gap is not enough to see. Del glanced at the cage behind him, gritted his teeth, and mustered his muscles to push the door. Only this time the door opened very slowly, and Del could no longer push the door after only moving half a meter. Chapter 256. No matter how hard he tried, Shimon didn't budge. Ha ha ha. Del kept yelling, louder each time. The light of life on his body burned more intensely, and the consumption became greater. Del's cheeks were bloodshot and flushed. The vitality is burning like a white flame. He has done his best. Exhausted all his strength as a great knight. But still can't shake Shimon at all. He stopped, panted heavily and glanced at the door of power, and said, the door is probably broken due to disrepair for a long time, and it can't be opened. Let's take a detour, it may take a little longer. Ka. The ear-piercing voice sounded suddenly. The ground, walls, and ceiling were all shaking. Countless fine stones fell from the ceiling, and the sky was full of dust. It was like an earthquake. Del looked at the gate in horror, as if watching a devil coming out of hell. God, oh my God! His mouth opened wide enough to fit a fist. At the place where his gaze was fixed on, standing by the gate was a snow-white girl. The girl's slender arms pressed against the door. No matter how hard Del tried just now, the stone door, which could not be moved at all, and the door of power, which made him conclude that the door was broken, moved. Phoebe used only one hand. His expression looked so normal, as if he didn't use much force. Not to mention Del, even Will was taken aback. Pure physical strength, she's probably still above me. This was the conclusion he came to after seeing Phoebe's strength. Bloodlines have a fusion rate of more than 30%. What it brings is not only the erosion of the body by the blood vessels, but the body is on the verge of collapse and the person is about to die. It also comes with powerful magic power and terrifying physical fitness. Phoebe's combat effectiveness is only the second level of the third-class apprentice, or the beginning of the third level. But her magic power is even higher than that of Roger, far surpassing Will. Lead the way. Phoebe glanced at Del. Okay. Del stammered in response. The four continued on. Del asked everyone to extinguish the torches, and walked by the dim light of the magma on the side. There are many beasts of war and beasts inhabiting the dungeon, it's best not to disturb them. Del explained. Although the strength of the four of them is very strong, Del also feels that there are no creatures in the dungeon that can threaten their lives, but it is always good to get to the destination as soon as possible without causing trouble. The voice just fell. Puff puff puff. Above, a group of black things flew by. Will could see clearly that it was a group of vampire bats the size of basketballs. The vampire bat grabbed the rock with its claws and stood upside down above the cave, watching Will and the four of them, his eyes gleaming with bloodthirsty light. It seems that they don't welcome us very much. The danger doesn't just come from vampire bats. There are also many beasts of war and beasts lurking around. The monsters are all weak, and the strongest is only comparable to a great knight, and they are not a threat to them. It just hinders their speed and consumes their physical strength. We just want to come quietly and go quietly. Why should we appear? People are okay, but the size of the iron cage is too big, and it is too difficult to hide. Del watched his surroundings vigilantly, leading Will, Roger and Phoebe to move on. Until a fire dog as big as a calf burst out howling and stood in front of them, baring its bloodthirsty fangs. Had a night's rest in the dungeon. Walking out of the underground cave, the temperature dropped suddenly. The cold wind of more than 10 degrees below zero was blowing head-on, and everyone was shocked. Dragging a huge iron cage, looking down from above, the four of them walked slowly in the snow-capped mountains like four black sesame seeds. Looking forward, there are only high mountains and white snow. No trace of life could be seen. Is the Comoros monitor lizard living here? Continue walking with such doubts. Seeing the destination gradually approaching, although Phoebe's body was still trembling, and it became more and more serious, her complexion improved a lot. If you observe carefully, you can even find a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. Boom! The iron cage sank into a snowdrift. They didn't notice a hollow in the ground, it was just covered in snow. There is no problem for people to walk. As soon as the heavy iron cage passed by, the ground immediately collapsed. For this kind of thing, they have experienced many times. Several people cooperated and skillfully pulled up the iron cage. Only this time it's a little different. Rumble. A loud noise came from above. The sound grew louder and closer. The ground was shaking, and the snow was sliding down. What's going on? Is there an earthquake? Everyone looked at the source of the students, and their expressions suddenly changed. Avalanche. From the top of the mountain. The little snowball rolled down, the little snowball became a big snowball, and the big snowball rolled down with the little snowball. The little snowball became a big snowball again. The snow became fluffy due to the vibration and slid down. Because of a small shock, because of a small snowball, one of the most terrifying natural disasters in the natural world, an avalanche. Looking at the overwhelming snow waves falling down. Everyone's face is extremely ugly. Especially Del, whose face became pale with fear, without a trace of blood. Is it because of the iron cage? Is the avalanche caused by the sound of the iron cage collapsing several times? There will be an avalanche. Should it be said that it is reasonable? It's useless to worry about these now, let's go. Pulling the iron cage, the four of them ran quickly. Going up is not acceptable. It is also impossible to run down faster than the avalanche, so you can only run sideways, hoping to run out of the range of the avalanche. Rumble. The snow waves kept approaching. With the speed of the four of Will, there was no way they could escape before the snow wave arrived. Throw that damn iron cage away! Del yelled at Roger at the critical moment of his life. Luoji searched for a crack on the ground, and stomped hard. The crack suddenly widened. Just stuff the iron cage in. After looking at the surrounding mountain peaks and the arrangement of the stars and sun in the sky, I recognized the location. Run fast. Without the drag of the iron cage, their speed surged. There is a cave ahead, we can hide there. Will, with sharp eyes, was the first to discover the cave. They ran towards the cave. The speed of the snow wave is getting bigger and bigger. The 10-meter-high snow wave swooped down from top to bottom with an unstoppable speed. Under this shocking avalanche, human power is so insignificant. The Great Knight is as weak as an ant. Just to escape, you have to do your best. Del panted heavily, his legs bursting out with life force. Even in the rugged mountains, the snow under their feet was still sliding, and their running speed reached an astonishing 130 per hour. Ha! At the last critical moment, they jumped. The four rolled and jumped into the cave. Behind them, snow waves submerged their footprints, and the snow waves covered the entrance of the cave like a waterfall. Chapter 257. Del showed the expression of the rest of his life. Will, Roger and Phoebe also breathed a sigh of relief. At the entrance of the cave, white snow was still pouring down, and it seemed that it would not stop in a short time. Go deep into the cave. The four of them were suddenly taken aback. There were already other people in the cave. 3 figures in white robes sat around the fire, talking. There was the sound of thunder and thunder in the fire. A faint light illuminated Will and their faces. The 3 people in white robes ignored Will and the others who suddenly barged in, and they didn't respond to the avalanche outside the cave, they were just talking in an unknown language. When seeing those 3 people, Luoji's face turned extremely pale. Luoji, who had always been as calm as water and remained unchanged before Mount Tai collapsed, was actually trembling, with unconcealable fear in his eyes. Will froze at first. After noticing Roger's reaction, he immediately reacted. Look at the robes that are similar in style to theirs, except that the color is white. White-robed wizard. He was extremely surprised. There are 2 continents in this world. They are located in the eastern continent, a relatively barren continent. The western continent is much richer and more prosperous. Wizards in the eastern continent usually wear black robes and are called black wizards. Wizards in the western continent usually wear white robes and are called white wizards. There is not much difference between black wizards and white wizards in terms of abilities and cultivation methods, mainly because of the differences in concepts. A dark wizard, dark and mysterious, a lonely walker on the road to explore the truth. White wizard, bright and holy, the god who dominates the world. Black wizards always hide their footprints, try not to interact with mortals, and prevent mortals from knowing their existence. Some dark wizards have been hiding in one place for hundreds of years, and they don't even know they're dead. The white wizard is different. In the western continent, white wizards rule the country. Everyone knows, looks forward to, and admires the white wizard. If there is a chance, I really want to see that prosperous country ruled by white wizards. Black wizards and white wizards are not just different in concept. The gap in overall strength is also huge. In the eastern continent, the main gathering place for black wizards, 3rd-class apprentices can already be called strong, and 1st-class wizards are rare. There are no 2nd-level wizards on the surface. In the western continent, I heard that the slightly larger top forces have 2nd-level wizards sitting in their command, and there may be 3rd-level wizards secretly. The white wizard who has been longing for a long time, did not expect to meet in this situation. Will carefully looked at the 3 white wizards in front of him. One was a dwarf who was only 1 meter tall, and his whole body was scorched black like black charcoal, as if he had been scorched by flames. One of them was wearing a delicate silver mask. Judging from her figure and fair hands, she should be a woman, quite pretty. It's just that when talking, sometimes it's a male voice, sometimes it's a female voice. When the voice is female, the voice is melodious and tactful. When male, the voice is deep and heavy. Not only the voices are different, but the tone and style of speaking are also very different, as if there are 2 people. The last person is a beautiful girl with a good face. There was a faint smile on the girl's face, and his heart was moved just by looking at her sideways. But you can't fool him. His real eyes clearly saw the girl's real appearance. What you see on the surface is just an illusion. The girl's real appearance is a rotten body full of maggots, which makes people vomit. The sudden appearance of the white-robed wizard and the strange appearance of the 3 of them chilled Will's heart. It's not panic, it's fear, it's chilling. His body was icy cold because he was too scared, his breathing and heartbeat stopped, and he didn't dare to move a single point. Although they couldn't feel the powerful magic power from the white-robed wizard, they didn't show any hostility. But as long as anyone who knows a little about wizards and has a little bit of common sense, they should definitely know that it is absolutely impossible for a 3rd-class wizard apprentice to look like that. No other evidence is needed. Only by looks. You can know that the 3 white-robed wizards in front of you are not ordinary, they are far beyond the existence of 3rd-class apprentices. As for whether it is a 1st-level wizard or a 2nd-level wizard, it does not make any difference to them. Because no matter what level of official wizards, they can easily kill them in seconds. Luoji bowed to the white-robed wizards with a respectful expression. 3 respected adults, I am sorry to disturb you, we will leave now. The white-robed wizards didn't respond. As if the 4 of Will didn't exist, they continued to communicate in a language that Will and the others couldn't understand, without even looking at them. Roger lowered his head and slowly stepped back. Will and Phoebe also looked solemn, and followed Roger to retreat. Behind is the raging snow wave. Once they walked out of the cave, they were bound to be caught in an avalanche. But they had to. Compared to Schwebing, the three white-robed wizards in front of him were much more terrifying and dangerous. Lord Roger, we will die if we leave the cave. Del obviously didn't understand the situation in front of him. Why don't we negotiate with those adults? How about we sit on the edge of the cave far away from them? Stop, leave now. From Will's reaction, Del knew that the three people in white robes were very strong. But how strong it is, he doesn't know. Because he is not a wizard and doesn't know much about the wizarding world. He only thought Will and the others were powerful bloodlines. There are 4 of us, Lord Roger, and the 3 of them are all capable of confronting the Comoros monitor lizard. Faced with such a powerful force like us, the opponent will definitely be afraid. With this thought, Del walked towards the opposite side. Stupid. Come back. Will's expression changed suddenly. Regardless of Will's obstruction, Del said with a respectful expression, "My lords, we will leave as soon as the avalanche stops. Can you?" Haitan, the short man among the 3 white-robed wizards, turned his head and stared at Del. And behind Del, the 3 of Will near the exit of the cave. At this moment, Will found that the face of the short wizard had no features, it was flat, but there was a vertical slit in the middle. It looks similar to the slit on the forehead of the wizard apprentice who transplanted night demon eyes, but it is much longer. The gap opened, and golden light burst out from the gap. A huge golden pupil that occupies 2/3 of the entire face is revealed. Buzz. His gaze was like a torch, covering Will and his party. Del, who bore the brunt, exploded in an instant, turned into blood foam and dissipated in the air, as if he had never existed. The light fell on Will and the others behind Del. Will only felt a sharp pain in his body, as if countless bombs detonated in his body, destroying his body. Run! Roger yelled in horror. The 3 of Will huddled together, jumped out of the cave, and were sucked into the snow waves. Chapter 258. They were caught in the snow waves, their bodies rolling uncontrollably. But what really frightened them was not the avalanche, but the 3 white-robed wizards in the cave. Sharp pains came from all over Will's body, large and small holes spread all over his body, and the magic power of the demon seed radiated uncontrollably, corroding and destroying his body. The mental power is in chaos, and the mental space is on the verge of collapse. He tried his best to control his body, but it was extremely laborious and awkward, like a child wielding a hammer weighing more than 10 kilograms. He believes that not only him, but also Roger and Phoebe must be having a hard time. Especially Phoebe, whose body was exuding an astonishingly colder air than usual. Will's body was frozen to the point of losing consciousness. The avalanche stopped, and they were crushed in the deepest part of the snow. But they couldn't move, and they didn't dare to move. He could only silently accumulate strength, adjust his body, and at the same time desperately hide his breath. "Don't find us! Don't come after me!" They thought silently in their hearts and shouted. Roger was the best of the 3rd-class apprentices. Will thought that his strength had reached the peak of a 3rd-class apprentice. But the 2 of them are too small in front of official wizards. There is not even a little resistance left. It is rumored that Bloom, who has fused 5 demon species and has 5 bloodline abilities, can fight against a 1st-level wizard who has just advanced, has not learned witchcraft, and cannot fully control his own power. At that time, I thought it was too exaggerated. How could a 1st-level wizard be so strong? Until he encountered an official wizard-level enemy for the 2nd time. Only then did he realize that wizards are just that strong. The black charcoal and white-robed wizard just now had no magic skills or wizards at all, and didn't even use the bloodline ability, just released the magic power from the pupils. Just like that, instantly turned Del into a blood mist, seriously injuring 3 of them who were comparable to 3rd-class apprentices. Thinking of Del's death filled Will with sadness. Del led the way for them, leading them through the underground city to Jimalo Snow Peak. Although they had known each other for 2 days, Will and Del still got along very well. He and Del talked the most along the way. Del died, so suddenly. It was easily killed by the white-robed wizard like crushing an ant. If Del obeyed them obediently and did not touch the white-robed wizard, the white-robed wizard might not attack them, and they would not be seriously injured. But he couldn't hate Del. Because they are wizard apprentices, Luoji and Phoebe are 3rd-class apprentices, and his own combat power is comparable to 3rd-class apprentices. It doesn't matter that they get caught in the avalanche. Just a little embarrassed. Avalanches are absolutely not a threat to their lives. Del was different. Del is just a big knight. The strength of the great knights is indeed very strong among ordinary people, and the best among them even have the combat power of one man against the army. But still too weak. In the face of a natural disaster like an avalanche, without any resistance, being involved in it is definitely a narrow escape. Rather than being crushed to death by an avalanche, it might be better to be instantly and painlessly killed by a white-robed wizard. Although the three of them were affected by this, how could he complain? The wizards are high above us and treat us like ants. Will couldn't help feeling, one day, I will change this decadent and ugly world, for sure. The three of them hid under the snow, silently healing their bodies. After reaching their level, it is very common to not breathe for hours. Adjust the blood flow, calmly sort out the mental power, and strive to control the demon seeds. After several hours, the body finally got better. Together with Roger, the two pulled Phoebe out of the snow. At this time, the sky was already dark, and the stars were twinkling in the sky. Phoebe lay on the ground with her eyes closed. His face was covered with frost, and his body was as cold and hard as ice. This snow-like girl fell forever in the snow mountain. Will and Roger bowed their heads, their faces darkened. I didn't expect her to die, Will said with a sad tone. Due to the high fusion rate of demon seeds, Phoebe's blood ran out of control, and her body was already on the verge of collapse. The body was shocked by the white-robed wizard, and the magic power in the body completely lost control and ran away. She herself died as a result. This is the fate of wizards. Compared with the sad Will, Roger was much calmer. Luoji looked up at the Jimalo snow peak, recalling what happened not long ago, feeling like a dream. We actually met a white-robed wizard, or 3 official wizards at once, it's like a dream. Luoji smiled wryly. Yeah, Will agreed. Official wizard, how mysterious and powerful is that? There are only 3 members of the Jiluo Potion Academy, including the principal who has been missing all year round. In the entire eastern continent, there may not be 10 official wizards in total. Most of the official wizards are hidden in a dark and remote place, and they don't show their signs all year round. The 3 official wizards who appeared this time. Or a white-robed wizard from the western continent. Things are definitely not normal. On Jimalo Snow Peak, is there any treasure worth exploring? I can only think so. Otherwise, it is impossible to understand why the 3 white-robed wizards are here. Rogi, what should we do next? Will looked at Roger. Jimalo Swafeng's plan to capture the Comoros monitor lizard is impossible to succeed. He never wanted to meet an official wizard again. Can only change places. The cage is still halfway up the mountain, and it will take a lot of time to find it. Because of the existence of the white-robed wizard, I don't want to get close to it for the time being, Luoji said. You want to give up the mission? Without a cage, why do you imprison the Comoros monitor lizard? Roger opened the package. Our potions were all shattered in the impact just now. Without the potions as a tranquilizer, we couldn't bring the Comoros dragon back. Cages are just one thing. The biggest problem is potions. Without potions, how to catch Comoros monitor lizard? Let it writhe in the cage? Luoji carried Phoebe on his back and walked down the mountain. Give up this task. Roger decisively left. His decision was correct. It's just that Will doesn't agree, he doesn't want to give up. Will stared at Luoji's back and clenched his fists. I won't give up, I must catch the Comoros monitor lizard, even if I cut off their limbs, I will definitely catch the Comoros monitor lizard. Bring back. Whatever. Watching Luoji's figure gradually shrink and disappear. Will sat down on the snow all at once. I must become a 3rd-class wizard, and I must capture the Comoros monitor lizard. If you miss this opportunity, the next time you come, it may be a year or 2 later. He didn't want to wait that long. After seeing the powerful power of an official wizard level again, his desire for power became stronger and stronger. Power, I need power that can change the world. The first step is to become a 3rd-class apprentice. For the future, the blood of the Comoros monitor lizard is essential. If not, it might affect his advancement to a formal wizard, and have a great impact on his future and plans. Chapter 259. He flipped through the map. I scanned the map. There are several habitats for the Komorian monitor lizard. Jimalo Snow Peak is neither the nearest nor the most, but the best way to go. Here. Will points to a low-lying basin. Tayada Oasis is located 30 kilometers northwest of Jimalo Snow Peak. It's just a valley that is like spring all the year round, inhabiting many ferocious beasts and monsters. The Comoros monitor lizard is the king of the Tajida Oasis. You will definitely find the Comoros monitor lizard there. The reason why I didn't go to Tajida Oasis before. Mainly because the road is too difficult to walk. Especially when carrying a heavy iron cage. Now there is no iron cage, no potion, and it is much easier to walk alone. The capture process is also much more difficult. Only without potion suppression, without iron cages, can you really successfully capture the Comoros monitor lizard? Although I have an idea in my mind, I am still not sure. Hopefully it works. After resting for a while and eating some dry food, Will got up and set off. I deliberately avoided the Jimalo snow peak. Walk on glaciers and drift in snow. Although it took a long detour and the road was rough and difficult, but because he was alone and carried few things on his body, he arrived at the destination when the morning star was shining and the day was coming. Will walked among the boundless snow-capped mountains. In the valley ahead, a little bit of green light can be vaguely seen. Near. There are more creatures around. He noticed huge beasts coming in and out of the mouth of the valley. The ferocious and brutal beasts seemed so quiet at the moment. The ferocious tiger is as well behaved as a house cat. The giant snake with 2 heads crawled quietly on the ground. The giant eagle soaring high gliding across the sky, not daring to make a sound. The Tajida Oasis is ahead, and the habitat of the Comoros monitor lizard is right in front of us. Wearing a white fur coat, Will hid himself in the snow, restrained his breath, and quietly lurked towards the Tajida Oasis. Tajida Oasis is a paradise for monsters. It is the home of the Comoros monitor lizard. In addition to the Comoros monitor lizard, there are not a few third-class apprentice-level monsters. If you want to successfully capture the monitor lizard, especially after losing the support of the potion and losing the cage in which it was held, you must be more careful and more cautious. Approaching Tajida Oasis. The snow gradually thinned out, and the snow became thinner and disappeared, exposing the soft soil underground. The green grass emerges from the ground, and the soft emerald green color is so conspicuous in the white snow. Going deeper into the Tajida Oasis, the green grass becomes more and more, and occasional branches can be seen on the stone walls. The trees became lush. The air warmed up, with a damp and warm breath. Is this really located in the Beers Mountains? Is it really winter now? Looking at the snow-capped mountains beyond the bottom of the valley, the cold wind blows. On the same horizon and at the same altitude, Tajida Oasis is as warm as spring, full of vitality and green. Hearing the song of the birds, turn a corner. A heat wave hit our faces. The sound of waves reaches the ears. It's like being on the coast in hot summer. Gazing at the open scene in front of you. Tall and lush trees, playful beasts, and rough lakes. What appeared in his sight was a huge lake with a diameter of several thousand meters. All kinds of giant beasts rolled and frolicked in the lake. Among them, the one that caught his attention the most was a 20-meter-long, 3-meter-high monster with pitch-black scales all over its body and 2 long horns on the front of its head. It was somewhat similar to a crocodile. That's the Comoros monitor lizard? It is rumored that it is a descendant of a giant dragon, possesses a powerful physique and bloodline, and its strength is comparable to that of a third-class apprentice. Is the goal of his trip? It has to be well planned. Will squinted at the Comoros. In the following days, he has been lurking in the Tajida Oasis, observing the Comoros monitor lizard. There are 3 Comoros monitor lizards that have lived in the Tajida Oasis for a long time, and there are 2 that come here occasionally. We must choose a good target. He has collected a lot of information about the Comoros monitor lizard. But with the information and reality, he still believed in what he saw with his own eyes. Especially after losing the potion and the iron cage, all on his own, without Roger's help. Luckily I was prepared. Roger's departure and the loss of props did not make Will give up. This is because he has a backup plan ready. Of course, this backup plan is definitely not as easy as the original one, and the success rate is very low, less than 40% sure. Otherwise, what is the backup plan? It's useful to have a backup plan. Otherwise, in such an emergency, I can only leave obediently and wait for the next opportunity to catch the Comoros monitor lizard. And when is the next time? It will take a year at the earliest. A little slower, it is normal to spend 2 or 3 years. I've been stuck at the peak of the second-class apprentice for too long. His magic power, mental power, and physical strength have all reached a peak. It is difficult to improve the combat power. The only thing that can continue to improve is the state of mind. It's better not to pay too much attention to such illusory things as mood. The state of mind needs the corresponding strength to be meaningful. Even if you have the mentality of cutting meat and feeding eagles. The Buddha cut up the meat and fed it to the eagle, but he is still the Buddha. And you? Died. He doesn't believe that there are people who don't need strength and practice, but rely on the so-called state of mind and epiphany to leap from mortals to Buddhas and ancestors. There is nothing so cheap and good in the world. It's certainly not a good thing if you don't have a state of mind that matches your power, but what's the point if you don't have a power that matches your state of mind? It's been 2 months. He has been in Tajida Oasis for 2 full months. The understanding of the Tajida Oasis is deep enough, and the information about the Komoros monitor lizard is almost collected. Know yourself and the enemy, and you will never be imperiled in 100 battles. This is a sentence he has always believed in. It's time to act. If there were only 4 levels of assurance, the success rate has reached 60% now. At night, Will sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. Recharge your batteries for tomorrow's plans. The night sky is so clear, and the galaxy composed of countless stars is so beautiful. The beautiful full moon hangs high in the sky, silently illuminating the night sky. In this quiet night, suddenly, the earth trembled. In the distance, in the direction of Jimalo Snow Peak, there were bursts of huge roars. A beam of light shot out from the top of Jimalo Snow Peak. It exploded high in the sky, turning into a circular pupil with a diameter of hundreds of meters. The pupils are covered with countless lines, and the powerful and mysterious magic power flows along the complex lines. Thousands of magical powers converged into a beam of light, bursting out from the center of the pupil, with unparalleled heat and rage, as if it could penetrate everything. A huge arm suddenly stretched out from the top of Jimalo Snow Peak. With lava and gravel. The huge arm with a length of hundreds of meters ignored the scorching light beam, and grabbed the huge pupil phantom in the sky. No! After a shrill scream, the pupils suddenly shattered. Turned into a little bit of starlight floating in the world. Chapter 260. The giant hand retracted into the snow peak and disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. White-hot magma spewed out from the top of the snow peak, carrying countless gravel and dust, covering the entire night sky. The volcano erupted. Jimalo Snow Peak is an active volcano. It is normal to erupt under such an impact. It's just that Gunna City, which is located near Jimalo Snow Peak, is about to suffer. Fortunately, the magma just spewed out for a while, then slowly became smaller, and the activity stopped. Only weak magma is still flowing from the crater. Is that pupil that appeared in the air just now a white-robed wizard? Is it the sorcery of that black charcoal-headed wizard? What happened to the other 2 white-robed wizards? The sudden appearance of this scene really startled him. What is that huge arm? How did it protrude from the crater? It also easily broke the witchcraft of official wizards? Is there such a terrifying thing in Jimalo Snow Peak? The joint adventure of 3 official wizards ended in failure. And judging from the final scene, it is estimated that they are all dead. The existence of official wizard level, 3 people died at once. This world is really dangerous. Even official wizards are like this, let alone these apprentice wizards? And busy mortals? Will's inner surprise turned to tranquility. Their current world is too far away from me, so let's focus on what's in front of us. In his line of sight was the turbulent Tajida Oasis. Grass. The plan is delayed again. The appearance of the 3 white-robed wizards was not as sudden as Will and the others imagined. They don't know, it's just because the level is not enough. The combination of 3 official wizards, whether in the eastern continent or the western continent, whether it is among humans, orcs, or murlocs, is a force not to be underestimated. For their adventure, they came to Jimalo Snow Peak. A powerful existence in the upper echelon of human beings has been watching. Failed? The gates of the world are not so accessible. 3 arrogant guys. Hey, 3 more died. Faces flashed past in the darkness. Some wore white robes. Some wore black robes. Some had sullen faces, with dangerous glints in their eyes. Some people smiled gloatingly, with a playful smile on the corners of their mouths. Some people looked like they had nothing to do with themselves. After learning the news, they turned their heads and buried themselves in their own research. Among them, there is Will's mentor, Vertley, Rudolph, the vice president of Jalo's Potion Academy, A&D. Everyone is an official wizard, an existence standing on top of the world. affect the fate of mankind. At this moment, they are all paying attention to the Jimalo Swafeng incident. In addition to the official wizards on the human side, the powerful existence of other races is also paying attention. The gate of the world is not only related to the fate of human beings, but also the fate of this world. In the dark, on the broken altars one by one, there are simple patterns painted on the altar, one of the oldest patterns that existed in the distant myth age. Prismatic crystals are suspended. Dots of starlight floated out from the crystal. In the center of the altar condensed a void figure, a beautiful and illusory elf child. He. The elf child, whose gender could not be distinguished, smiled coquettishly and made a clear sound like a bell. Thinking about the tiptoe, lightly twirled and danced on the altar. On the lonely and broken altar, no one knew that there was such a dreamy dance. Soon. It's coming. Coming. Countless voices, male and female, old and young, gathered together, condensed into a word. Our nation will bloom again. It belongs to us, beautiful, eternal, happy. The kingdom of elves. Will has no idea what's going on behind the scenes in the world. All he knew was that he was in trouble. Cut, why not sooner or later, why is this time? Whether Jimalo Swafeng, the white-robed wizard, or the giant hand, none of them were as important to him as catching the Comoros monitor lizard. But they affected him. The monster howled wildly and ran. The Comoros monitor lizard roared. The huge figure rolled in the lake, causing huge waves. It seems that it will not be quiet for a while, and we need to find another time. This wait is half a month. Seeing Tajida Oasis returning to its normal state, Will breathed a sigh of relief. Once again he found an opportunity. Target selected. In the early morning of dawn, when there was only one Komorian monitor lizard in the Tajida Oasis. It's getting foggy. A white mist hangs in the Tajida Oasis. The huge Comoros monitor lizard lay on the edge of the lake, resting quietly. Gollum gollum gollum. Make loud noises while sleeping. White air waves gushed out from its nostrils, and the air waves hit the water surface, causing a burst of waves. The giant lizard opened its eyes and looked around anxiously. It is just a Comoros monitor lizard, although he has the blood of a giant dragon and has great strength, his combat power is comparable to that of a third-class apprentice. But its level of intelligence is just an ordinary beast. It may be much smarter than ordinary beasts, but it is not much higher, at least it is completely incomparable with humans. The monitor lizard stood up anxiously. The instinctive perception from animal nature made it aware of the danger. Boom! A 2-meter-high monster with long black hairs descended from the sky. Hit it on the back all of a sudden. The sharp 5 claws with sharp blades are inserted into its body. The scales it was proud of did not stop the attackers from attacking. Ah! It howled angrily. How long had no beast dared to challenge his position? A big monkey with little magic power dared to sneak attack it. The magic power of the body surged, and the huge body moved, throwing away the attacker on his back. Open your mouth wide, and the magic power condenses. A ball of light condensed with powerful magic power and extremely destructive power flew towards the attacker. Bang! Light ball blast. Create a hole 10 meters in diameter on the surface of the water. Ah! The monitor lizard screamed, and another piece of flesh was grabbed on its side. Although they were all minor injuries, it was angry. The huge body ran up and rushed towards the enemy. Disappeared? Escaped? Humph, if it wasn't for this thick fog, I would have crushed you to death. When it was unable to vent its anger because of the enemy's escape, another stabbing pain came from its body. Roar! Huge, furry monkeys appear and disappear from time to time. In the dense fog, the Comoros monitor lizard could only be beaten helplessly. The giant lizard kept howling, sending out balls of light with huge destructive power, and its powerful body rampaging. But it didn't work. What's the use of a powerful attack if it can't hit the enemy? In the fog, the Comoros monitor lizard could only be beaten passively. The injuries on his body became more and more serious, and his physical strength was weakened bit by bit.